Two more thrilling races coming up for you this evening as we head to Belgium after the madness of Catalonia. A proper classic track, this one, as we head to Circuit Zolder, one that you can definitely see the history in the track itself. Opened back in 1963, various changes to the circuit have seen chicanes added, but its core layout remains relatively similar from the 60s until now. It's been used for plenty of racing inside and outside of motorsport itself. Located on the eastern side of Belgium, just outside of Genk, we'll just see the halfway point of the season completed this evening. It's time for the VRS SCO Sprint Challenge Round 3 coming up. With former iRacing world champion Hugo Luis manning the broadcast, I'm Lewis McQuaid. Alongside me, Sommel Aurora once again. What crazy action we saw last time out. Ready to see more again.
Absolutely, Lewis, and I've got an idea. I think we can just pool in some money together and open a scrapyard nearby Zolder, because I've got a feeling that today we're going to get quite a few customers after the racing here. It's going to be crazy, it's going to be frantic. The track is pretty narrow, which means overtaking opportunities, well, they're not that great, but as we know, all of our drivers, if they can send it at turn 7 at Catalonia, they can send it anywhere.
Yeah, we saw 3-4 wide back at Catalonia, but let's talk about that race too. It was crazy, it was frantic, and it all started with how the race begun. A little bit of a mistake on the race beginning itself, and boy, did that open things up.
It genuinely did. We saw a big kerfuffle right on that very opening lap. And what a shame that was. It took out so many top competitors, including the Volanti Racing BMW, who I was very keen to watch. But the core of it, well, no pun intended there, but the actual core of it was simracing having a slight issue with their start, just going for a bit and then backing off, which caused a concertina effect. And that was the reason why we saw so many big names eliminated. That was the reason why simracing won on track, but were given a 15-second penalty later on.
Yeah, absolutely. High drama indeed. This round, though, will see us pass the halfway point of the season. As I was alluding to, it ends that triple header that opens the season. So we finish round 5 and round 6. We'll take a break before we do some endurance racing of the proper sort in the slight off-season here before we return at Monza and then do another triple header again. Monza, Red Bull Ring, and then, of course, rounding out the season on the Nürburgring. And that will be a fantastic way to end the season through proper thrilling tracks to end the season. But focusing here at Circuit Zolder, it's one that it is going to be a challenge to race. It's not the easiest track to overtake at, but you know, we speak of the format ahead of us. If there's going to be action, we are going to see it.
Yeah, in terms of racing, it's quite current. In terms of driving as well, Lewis, it's a proper challenge. And this circuit really does not give you the chance to get a lot of rhythm in. And so you've always got to be very mindful as a driver. Always got to keep on focusing on the next corner, the next corner. It doesn't quite let you get in a flow. That's what makes it so hard. And in terms of the championship as well, I can only wonder what sort of aura are we going to leave out at the end of this round, because coming in, things have been dramatic.
Absolutely. Team Racebox then will top the standings, which may be a surprise to some, not winning a race this season. But of the 4 races that we've had, they have been on the podium in every single one. And it is consistency that seals championships. We were talking of the difference between Core and SimRC, how they were the main focus over the previous 2 rounds, where it's been about their charge at the front as a team. But there's been mistakes, there's been issues. Remember the disqualifications and stuff back at Hockenheim, courtesy of escaping during qualifying. There have been issues for those teams, and picking up the pieces in the best possible way. Team Racebox.
Oh, they absolutely have been. I don't know a lot about foxes, but this certain breed of foxes, this particular race fox of sorts, whatever it is, seems to be quite sneaky while attacking someone and packs a lot of punch when actually pouncing on the prey. That's what they've done, Lewis. They've not made too many headlines, but they've just quietly sneaked their way into the lead of the championship. And as you mentioned, no podiums. I mean, not a single race where they haven't got a podium so far this season.
It's consistency. You said before, it's consistency that seals championships. If they can continue that form, they will be doing very, very well indeed. Presently, we're in qualifying, I do believe. We're about to head into it, rather. We're not quite there yet. They are topping practice. So they are very, very comfortable indeed at the moment, doing a 34.657 in this present practice session. Core Sim Racing just behind them with the number 30 forward. And in the fiercely forward IRS car, let's talk about McLarens right now, because the series so far has been all the talk of Porsches. We were coming here expecting McLarens to do kind of well. They're not too far off, but they're not exactly striking the pace that we might have hoped out of them.
Yeah, generally. In qualifying, they seem like the McLarens of 2008 in Formula 1. And they've got that same raw pace right there in quali trim. But the race pace reminds me more of McLaren from 2013. It's just not there. Sort of drips off very, very badly. And we saw that being a major issue at Catalonia. We saw that being a major problem at Hockenheim for teams like German Sim Racing and fiercely forward IRS. More on them in a little bit. But seriously, if there's one circuit where it might just slightly not impact them as much, I think it might be Zolder, because even if there is a drop-off, where do you pass?
Absolutely. This is the thing, is we were bringing that up at the last round, is that their opening, their qualifying pace and their opening to the race is absolutely fine. It's the midpoint and latter point of the race where they're burning through their tyres just that little bit faster than others that they seem to really dissipate on pace. And like I was saying, around here they need to nail it. But you're saying about it's hard to pass. How much pressure does that add to the shoulders of the drivers that are doing qualifying now? Because it's a 20-minute session. Once again, it's an open session. You go out there, you do your laps, and you set your times, you get on the board. Typical qualifying session, this one. But you have to nail it. You absolutely have to nail it. It's paramount to your entire evening.
100%. In terms of this, you're banking a lot from the qualifying driver, because if you just eventually end up having a bad one, there's not much you can do in terms of strategy as well. No tire changes per se. I mean, not that you need to do any, right, in this case. And nothing you can do in terms of fuel strategy too. Not much, I mean to say, in that case. And so it essentially comes down to your driving, which we all love to see. But that can create a slight problem when it comes to driving at a track like Zolder. It actually makes a huge difference, because not many can pass here, which means qualifying becomes even more stronger and even more necessary. And that somewhere can put some teams at an advantage. Maybe just take a look at German Sim Racing for that matter. In both the races at Catalonia, their qualifying pace was quite brilliant, but their problem primarily came in the race and trying to keep things clean. At Zolder, if you don't get somebody side by side, not only do you not have to bother about anyone getting past you, but also not making contact, which was their major issue the last time out.
Yeah, particularly with German Sim Racing. You're saying they're qualifying well. Remember back in the first qualifying, so for technically round 3 of the season, it was a 1-2 in the session for them. How long did it take them into the race until they made contact? Someone. And it's been a point of the season is that we've got a few teams where the team cars, you've got Core with a couple of cars, they made contact last round. SimRC, obviously it wasn't actually their fault. SimRC have a couple of cars, German Sim Racing, Fiercely Forward. We've seen pretty much all of these teams at some point in the first 4 races this season have their cars come together.
Exactly. I think there's very few teams that have actually not ended up making contact with each other. I remember that Maniti almost did at Barcelona, but apart from that, it's been crazy, especially for German Sim Racing. I was hoping for so much at the start of round number 1. It seemed almost perfect for them that they had 2 of their cars from 1 and 1-2. But then things went wrong, and also Fiercely Forward for that matter. Didn't we see their 3 cars also make contact just a little bit at turn number 1 last time out as well? It's been pandemonium here.
And this, by the way, has continued on into the Sprint Masters. We've seen plenty of that as well.
Exactly.
Continuing on there. It's an odd trend to the series, I will say that. Because normally you'd see, one team, and I'm not going to name names here when it comes to teams, but we see a team that are constantly together and battling and bashing and rubbing and whatever. And, they're just racing hard within themselves, fair enough. But this has been weird in the sense that we've seen a lot of teams doing that very thing. Marius Golombek then on screen. We'll watch him across the line to try and set a pole position time. Of course, first lap of the session. I'm not really too sure if it's going to be a pole time as they're setting it. But the number 35 was the car that started from pole position. Marius Golombek wasn't the one qualifying in mind. He did start the race and did quite a good job at the start of the race, to be perfectly honest.
He absolutely did. Golombek has been quite the ace behind that Core Sim Racing car so far this season. It's been fun to see what the 35 has been doing so far all the way through. And in terms of results as well, in terms of where they stand, how things have been going, I think Core can not really complain much in terms of their performance. It's just been things in and around the racing that's been a bit of a problem for the 35.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be fair, we were saying this before, they got a 15-second time penalty for the previous round, and that was because of the issues on the race start. It breached a few of the articles when it comes to the actual beginning to a race and how we ignore the iRacing green flag, and then there's a manual bit. It's all a bit of a cluster that some aren't necessarily used to. Of course, Aristotle's would be. But the thing is, with that, it was a messy scenario that caught quite a lot of people out. Is what it is. 15-second time penalty. You would be like, they're going to drop a load. 15 seconds is a long time, realistically. One position. Drop down a second. That's all it was.
Exactly. That's how dominant they were, Sim Racing, all the way through. I loved it. I loved seeing how commanding they were all the way through the race. Not like anybody could come close and touch them a lot. In that first race, we saw a few more battles all the way through, but in that second race at Barcelona, Co were something else. And it's been an interesting trend so far that Maxime Ranstein has unfortunately made an error in every single race one. I mean, that's only 2 of them so far this season, but that's what it is. He's made an error in race 1 all the time for Sim Racing. It's like taking 2 huge steps forward and then taking half a step back. They're not able to capitalize on race number 1 in each and every round, but I get a feeling that this time they might be slightly more prepared. And now that Ranstein has got his hang on that GD4 car, now that we've seen that how dominant he can be when given the free rein, I think we may just see something more special from those core 35, 36 machines.
Well, the interesting thing of that previous qualifying session was actually the first time that we saw Sim Racing taking a pole position. It was one of those weird things that we, in the series between, when we talk of the battle between Sim Racing and SimRC, in that title chase, the battle between them, of course, now they're battling out with RaceSpot as well, have been flying a bit under the radar. I think that'll continue. For them, they are now very much on the radar. Those 2 teams, though, SimRC and Core, they hadn't had a pole position until last round. Maxime Ranstein did the work and got the pole position. At the moment, though, we're seeing SimRC, Jamie Moon at present at the top of the session, Kevin Crosney behind the wheel. This car has had a pole position. It was in the second race of the season. Lucas Gabler doing the work that day back at Hockenheim. Of course, it's been on the podium every single race so far, and now we get to see it as we did in the previous round, and we'll talk about it again in that absolutely stunning livery.
It's been beautiful for Team Race Fox. I honestly haven't seen much of them before this championship, but this, again, as I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, this particular breed of foxes, this Race Fox, whatever, I mean, I love their name, by the way. It's just awesome. It just gives that sort of intensity. And the way they've come in, the way they've sneaked up to every single team, and I love it. I love the fact that they've not made a huge impact. They've not made lots of the headlines. I mean, we don't walk out of every single round saying, oh, Race Fox, what a performance. What, just like we have been saying for SimRC or Co. But the fact that they're leading goes to show how good and how efficient they've been all the way through the season. And there can be no bigger compliment than that in a championship like this one.
Yeah, a bit of a word coming in from Hugo Luis, of course, our broadcast director. In our race, the typography on the side of the RaceFox car is the same as the RaceSpot logo. Obviously, you can tell. It is as soon as you, I was like, oh yeah. You look at how the race is like, yeah, it's the same, and that's why it rocks. No, I have to agree. I think it looks absolutely superb. But we've got some good liveries on here. I mean, to be honest, I quite like the Maniti one that's behind this. That Maniti white car. They're down a car this evening though, which is a bit of a shame. They've got Maniti Racing green, Maniti Racing white, but they are down one.
Yeah, a bit unfortunate. I can't quite comment more on exactly what happened right here, but they're not able to bring all 3 of their cars in, which is a bit of a shame, but I hope that they'll be back for the next round. But speaking of Maniti's livery, I've always been a fan, but ever since they've come up with that partnership with iLiveries, I think back in January this year, things have just changed. Things have just become a bit more special. And the McLarens, Lewis, already on the edge here.
Yeah, that's Molman doing, I mean, a lot of sliding there through the opening segment. This was the car that started from P2. It wasn't Les Molman that did the qualifying that day. It was his teammate Christopher Hyman behind the wheel back at Barcelona when they qualified in second spot. But up in third at the moment, looking pretty positive. The sliding through the first sector there, probably less positive, or to be honest, in a sense, if you're actually speaking a bit more from a car setup point of view, more positive than you'd actually want it to be. It just really didn't grip on the rear end. I think it was more of a might as well just throw it in and see what happens. And you can tell not a lot would happen on the rear end. It looks great for the cameras, but we are halfway in the session. They'll all be returning to pit lane now, getting some fresh tyres onto the car, getting ready for another stint. Here we go. We'll take another little look at it. Look at this. Rear end just popping out. There we go. That's definitely for the cameras. That is just showing off.
Honestly, though, this sort of quality of visuals in a racing simulator, tell me that did not look real. Come on, don't lie. It did. Amazing what production quality on iRacing is like. I know I'm bashing my own drum right here, but that's RaceSpot quality for you. That's Hugo Louis working the magic behind the cameras. But yeah, what a slide, and more of those in the race. Well, they don't help out. The McLarens don't really have a reputation of being the kindest on the tires anyway. This just makes it worse.
I'm surprised to see him actually going out and continuing. I would have assumed that this car was actually going to return to pit lane. I don't know how they're doing a heat sequence around here to warm up the tyres, how long it takes to actually get a decent amount of temperature into them. They should be good for the first lap, but I guess you can do a hot lap, then back it down, cool down the tyres, and then do another hot lap. Not sure how turn one there was cooling the tyres, but maybe it was just trying to heat them up. Of course, it's quite a short lap. I think pretty sure it's the shortest. No, I'll go with it. It is the shortest track on the calendar. Very short circuit around here.
Is it though? We go to the Red Bull Ring as well, and that must be the shortest in terms of lap time.
In terms of lap time, yes. In terms of lap time, but in terms of distance, I'm pretty sure because the average speed around here is very low.
Yeah.
All things considered, courtesy of all the chicanes. You like this one? Absolutely love it.
This. It's actually Zolder International Airport, this corner, what it is. If you just take it slightly wrong, you can just be sent up into the air. It works. You don't have to spend millions of dollars on a Rolls-Royce engine for that, but seriously, it's like they deliberately wanted to take the rhythm off the circuit for some reason. They said, yeah, I mean, I know the reason behind that, safety reasons, we all know. But unfortunately, having a shield wheel back in the day right here. And so the chicanes were necessary. Could they have done a slightly better job in terms of maintaining rhythm, though? I think so. You can tell I'm not the biggest fan in terms of driving here. But as far as I can tell in terms of my experiences at commentating on races here, they've been good. They've been mighty entertaining all the way around.
Yeah, they're different. I mean, to be fair, I'm not really a fan of... I do like Zolder if you get a good car around here. You've got it set up right. But actually having a car set up around here perfectly is tremendously difficult because you've got to get it balanced over the curbs and whatever is actually quite tricky. It's certainly a bit of a balancing act. Pascal Six, we're currently on board with up in second position. Let's take a look around the racetrack. That's a nice apex at turn 2. We'll scratch that one off. That wasn't the ideal line. This corner's quite good fun if you nail it, but it's obviously very easy to run a little bit too far wide and out into that gravel trap. You put two wheels, you can see how many people have already been out there at turn 4, down towards the Clyde's chicane, which you're a massive fan of, but they'll be on the brakes heavily here and then throwing it up over the curb. When you're nailing it, it's good fun. There's a bit of air for you, just a nice little bit up and then down the hill and then into yet another chicane, which is a common feature around here. This one is a little bit more open. The curbs, they dip, so you can attack them quite a bit somehow. And how do you feel about the second one? How do you feel about the second chicane?
I'm sort of conflicted about the chicanes right here. So if the chicanes are meant to be sort of smooth, you can go the Magny Cour way. But if they're meant to be more on the overtaking side, at least you can have some more space on the entry. So it doesn't tick any of my boxes. In terms of driving, though, in terms of racing, I love it. Every single time I've come here, every single time I've commentated on a race here, it's just led to some really good drama. And the last time I was commentating on a race here for RaceSpotTV, Porsche Sport Carrera Cup, we saw Racecraft Esports' Sam Coiter send a move down the Clyde chicane on the final lap for the final podium position. And that was just the kind of edgy racing that we all love to watch. He forced on that block pass. He was trying to execute it for the last 3-4 odd laps. Finally got it done. It's that sort of racing that Zolder can produce at its best. Question is it going to be at its best though? Are we going to see that same level of racing discipline that we saw in that particular race here today?
We'll have to wait and see. I am sure we'll see at least something. They've got to give it their fair measure. I will say, Team RaceFox, we've spoken of their podiums. They are quite far down the order, just like the spot at the moment. If they're going to get a podium in this race, they've got one of two things they need to do. Either set an incredible lap time and get up there, or make a lot of progress around the circuit, which is hard to overtake at.
Exactly. And normally the Race Fox way has been just sort of climb their way up. This doesn't quite help out in a situation like this one. How many positions can they climb? We know they can, but because we've got a slightly dropped out grid in a way, it's become a lot like just the top teams all the way through. Honestly, all these teams that we see here, all the way down, I think unfortunately Maniti White, they've only had a few problems. If you take out RSR, Maniti and Alcatech, all the top teams, have seen them usually around P6, P7. And so all the way through, it's just going to be pandemonium. All of them are top cars. And for that matter, even RSR and Alcatech, for that matter, were pretty good in Barcelona. They were showing signs of recovery. So in a way, there's going to be no freebies at all.
No, it's going to be pretty tricky in that opening bit. Like I say, you're going to have a lot of people desperate to make progress, and that you run through turn one, then you get that open invitation at turn two because you just run through that section. It's the natural trajectory. Just you sat there and think, I can do that. I can make that stick, and that's where you see the carnage. Crosney's second, or I would say second lap, his lap that he's presently on, certainly looking a little bit better here, running through the chicane and then downhill up towards this. By the way, this entire section is turn 7. We're still in turn 7, and we go through this right-hander, and we're still apparently in turn 7, and we come to here and we're still somehow in turn 7. Obviously one of those classic things that back in the day it was one corner, and whilst the actual general layout, the actual foot of the circuit actually hasn't changed very much. The chicanes and stuff have added their way to the circuit, but the actual blueprint, the actual base hasn't actually changed since the 60s.
I think they sort of forgot to rename the corners, whatever it might be. I mean, it could be worse. Could be like Road Atlanta, could be turn 11A and 11B, could be like Daytona, where some track maps say that the chicane is turn 8 or something, and some say it's turn 10. I don't even know what it is. It's just baffling. This works. I think this is not too bad on the whole, though.
Wow, what is not working is the lap time for RaceFox. No improvement. 4 minutes left. If you're talking of a team that is under pressure right now, it would be our championship leaders down in 9th position on this grid, just 6/10 off. The thing is, around here, it is a hard track to get into your rhythm. I will say one thing about them, and this is no disrespect to Kevin Crosney, because obviously a very talented driver, but we've seen, I mean, remember back to the races at Hockenheim, and think of the action, and even at Barcelona, to be honest. Think of the action and the racing that Lucas Gabler put on to work their way up the order and put them in prime position. Does know how to start a race in an aggressive way. So if you're going to have a poor qualifying, at least you've got a driver that you know can make progress.
Yeah, that's true. And what really doesn't help him out, or the team out in this case right now, no reverse grid, no shenanigans quite like that. Even if they're not able to do so, they have to go back again, carry that same burden, and go for another run in the second qualifying after the first race. Really, I love that this format just puts it into a meritocracy all the way through, Lewis. It's not like you can share off the burden of one race and just immediately come back to the second one, thinking that, oh, everything's all right, I can go back here, I can put up the best race possible. It's not really that way. You've got to execute it, and it's quite simple. Only the best are able to stay on the top. It's just perfect all the way through.
Yeah, if you were to counter that with a more of an endurance racing terminology, as Pascal Stick starts his final couple of laps of the session, we have the specialists of the transition periods, day into night, night into day. Just even the night specialists themselves, the quali specialists, the race start specialists, all this kind of stuff. To follow on from that vein, in this sense, it would be like that, but you have to deliver in every aspect. You have to be the specialist of all fronts, and that's where things become very, very difficult.
That's where you see most of the discrepancies between all the teams right here. Some might have drivers that are more focused on one aspect than the other. That's where finding that right team combination really can make a world of difference, honestly.
It certainly is. Marius Golombek up towards the line. No improvement. 36.006. So 2 more laps left to go for the teammate of the car that we were looking at, Pascal Sticks. Golombek a couple of positions behind and looking to do the work. He'll be handing over to Maxime Ramstein for the race. Of course, they were victors on the road at Catalunya, but not victors actually in the end. It's not how it worked, courtesy of the penalties for that race start. Looking back at Pascal Stix coming down towards this final sector, heavy braking zone into the hairpin, where we're going to see plenty of moves later on, and that run down towards the final of the chicane. GSR Hetzner, pole position back at Barcelona, not quite good enough for that today, but 4th position. It means that the second row of the grid does belong to GSR. Pascal Stix into the pit lane, session done for Stix and for the 34 car.
Well, how good did things play out for German sim racing the last time out? They locked a row. That's been gone now. It's not. They lock out row number 2 right now, Lewis. And my mind just flashes back to Barcelona. I so hope for them that they don't end up making contact, because really, what could have been had they not? They've shown some great pace, and this does not help in any way.
That was a bit of a snap on the brakes. Bit of a snap.
Yeah.
Pushed a little bit too far there into T5 and rear snapping. Seen that time and time again, and trust me, we are going to see that a couple of times in the race. Just hopefully there won't be a car ahead when that happens.
Exactly. You just don't want to see contact right here. You want to see hard, clean racing. And as I said early on, if you do get to see that sort of racing at Zolder, it makes it all the more special, because every overtake means so much more right here. If you can pull one off cleanly here, it matters twice as much maybe as you would at Catalunya. This place, well, if it just clicks, it can make for a great race.
Yeah, indeed. I think the session is pretty much over for the most part. They can complete the laps. It's not in the standard format of what you have in a generic race on iRacing, where you do your technical. Well, I was going to say generic racing. You know kind of what I mean. 8-minute session, 2 laps. Go out there. 8 minutes is up. Session's over. It's not like that here. We've got a 20-minute session that rolls all the way out, and we're seeing that continue. Rebecca Pauline on pole position the first round of the season. We wonder if the McLarens were going to take to the curbs better. Well, they're taking flight, and not the way they would have wanted. Rebecca Pauline in the fiercely forward IRS car. Fiercely forward tricolor does improve, but only a single position, up to 12th spot in the final moments of the session, so not ideal for them. 8/10 off of the pole. That's probably a bigger gap than they'd have wanted. They'd improved another 6,000 of a second, and they would have had the Alcantech NHR car that did so well in the previous race to work their way up, and especially in the early stages.
Genuinely, Alcantech NHR were a breath of fresh air last time out of Catalunya. And the best part is the regular season driver Matthew Crisp is seemingly all right as well. So he's back in that car too. Things are just going right for them. Things are improving for them. P11, it's an interesting place to be in. That mid-pack at Zolder. Not sure if it's the most comfortable position to be in. I think that honor has been taken by SimRC. But genuinely, if you can avoid turn number 1, I think things can be slightly better. And Rebecca Pauline just pips the second core car.
Yeah, certainly a last-minute improvement to jump up to the front of the third row of the grid. Team RaceSpot. Oh, that is a talking point. 9th position. That is not good for our championship leaders.
That is not good at all. How many positions can they gain up in the races? Remember, their main USP of this season so far has been quietly making good overtakes and getting up the order. At Zolder, though, that will be quite the challenge.
It certainly will. Well, we'll have to take a look at the grid and see where everyone is, because this is going to be an absolute thriller here at Zolder. SimRC then taking pole position. Jamie Moon on the front of the grid with Pascal Stix for Core Sim Racing alongside. GSR lock out the second row of the grid with Les Smallman doing the work. Mike Wagner with that late last-minute mistake might have made a bit of an improvement on that second lap of that run, but 4th is as good as it gets. Rebecca Pauline, last-minute improvement, jumps up to the front of the third row of the grid with Marius Gollenbeck starting from 6th. Behind this, Felix Luding for SimRC and the Radicals Online Track Racer vehicle from 8th position. And then our championship leaders, Kevin Crosney, is going to leave Luke Gabler with all of the work to do from 9th on the grid. Fiercely forward alongside them. The Alcantech NHR car alongside in 11th position. The fiercely forward Tricolor car, who moved up a single position at the final moments of the session. 12th is as good as it gets for them. The Boniti Racing green car looking pretty decent on pace, a little bit better than they had done in the previous round. Same with the Boniti Racing Racing white car, actually. I know they're last on the grid, but still, pace-wise, they're within a couple of seconds, so it might be a bit better round for them. RSR by Primus Engineering, they're in 14th spot. A 15-car grid here, but we still shouldn't be short on action, Sommel, as we race once again in the series.
Not one bit. I think the racing is going to be chaotic. It is going to be absolutely insane. And all the way through, even at the back of the grid, you are seeing so many cars who are just constantly closing up that gap to the leaders. If anything, I think this race should be the closest that we've had in terms of pace all the way through the season.
Yeah, I might yet agree with you on that one. It's kind of one of those circuits where we will see them race hard, but the thing is with it, you said it before, it's a difficult track. It's one of those ones that's exceptionally difficult, where we might see those Zolder specialists, as they are, work their way forward.
It's a lot like coming from playing football at a local ground from Barcelona to playing in the alleyways now at Zolder. It's all right, you can still do some stuff, but the flanks are almost rendered useless here. You've got to be very creative with how you end up making those moves that letting you score in a football match, and here let you make major overtakes. There are spots. It's not like saying that Zolder is impossible to pass on. Genuinely, if you line up your move quite well, turn number 1 might be that place. If you're too good on the brakes, like the Volante team was the last time out, but aren't competing right here today, you might just get something at turn number 2. After that, it's all about how you can chase, how you can follow, and how you can line up a move at that hairpin, turn number 8. I'm not going to try to say it right now in the intensity of the pre-race start, but still, I will get to it at some point. It's not impossible, Lewis. It's just about how you can build it up all the way through. And that might be frustrating because some of these corners at the circuit just don't let you establish any rhythm.
Yeah, and it's really easy to throw other drivers off of rhythm through the race. You're absolutely right. If you're racing hard around here, I mean, we've spoken about it time and time again. We saw 3 and 4 wide back at Barcelona. The thing is there, the slipstream was so powerful on that enormous backstretch, I think it's or front stretch rather, I think it's about a kilometre long from the final corner down to turn 1. If you battle it out, you can get back onto the rear end of the car quite easily. Around here, that's not the case. You have to time your battles very, very well. You can see here we're on the formation lap going into the 5th race of the season. A reminder as well that these aren't the only people that are battling out for a victory. You also can do so as well by heading to giveaway.sportscaropen.com, as VRS and Lego have put together a bit of a giveaway package. Lego Technic Porsche 911 RSR per race weekend, and across the season, VRS DFP wheelbase at the end of it. Head over to the link and get yourselves involved. You know I have to do it. Who's winning this race?
This is going to be such a toughie. 77 and 34. Both those cars have had such a fight, such a scrap throughout the season. You know what? I think I'm going to go 77 Sim RC just for the championship, just to see them get one edge over there.
I think the 34. I'm going trends. I know we didn't really see it completed to its fullest variety in the previous round, but I do believe that the number 34 Core Sim Racing could be coming out on top in this one. They'll be starting on the front row. It'll be the inside for turn 1 as well. Once we get around this final chicane and underway in the race. Can, though, RaceFox get themselves onto the podium? A 5th consecutive podium, what they're looking for. Starting from 9th position, our championship leaders, VRS Sports Car Open Sprint Challenge, round number 5, about to get underway here at Zolder. The green flag will be in the air, and the drivers are ready for the race start. But who is going to win on that run down to turn 1? Oh, look at that from Core Sim Racing. That's Ramstein, maybe even a bit of a jump start. Takes it 3 wide with the 2 GSR cars. Fiercely forward IRS. Contact between the 2 GSR cars at turn 1 for the 2nd consecutive round. Oh, that is drama there, and it's a Core Sim Racing 1-2. Look at that from the Radicals Online Track Racer car, I believe that is, darting through the middle of the pack. Drama once again, and RaceFox is somehow up to 6th.
How did they do that? How did they manage to execute 4 cars at turn number 1 and still make it out clean? No, there's drama for the Alkitec NHR team at the start. More on that in a second. But seriously, RaceFox have climbed up 3 positions, and you know who got swallowed? It was my pick, the SimRC 77. They're now the P5.
Ooh. More drama happening. That's going way down the order. That's not good I'm pretty sure that is the RSR by Primus Engineering car. I also think, by the way, just a bit further up the order, the 68 has had a slow down penalty. So Christopher Hyman behind the wheel, that was coming through your best favourite part of the racetrack. Maybe took a little bit too much curb, but slowed down and dropped down the order from 4th position to what will be 7th, and now making a bit of a dive down the inside of Squirek in the Radicals Online Track Racer car as well. So high drama at the start of the race. Contact between teammates again, and 4 wide.
I don't even know how they made it out of that. I have absolutely no words to describe that. I literally had my heart in my mouth. That was insane. And honestly though, the sort of opportunism we saw right there from Maxime Ramstein at the start, Lewis. Now, it'll be a discussion point for later and for more analysis whether it was a jump start or not. But seriously, the way he just picked his line and went through it, that was tremendous. And the sort of respect we saw at the start, amazing. Now the fun part begins though. Now, what sort of raw pace does RaceFox have? They were not very good in qualifying, but the Porsche has proven to be a better long-run car than the McLaren, and this does not help in any way.
There, I was going to say, as soon as he turned into T4, Lucas Gabler, you could tell there was a bit of an issue there. The front end just didn't bite, maybe overcooking the chicane as well. Absolutely threw it in. You've got to be careful because you can get damage if you take that too far. This is the move for the podium on Andaruti. Lucas Gabler on board with, has to do it the hard way around the outside. Nice. It's absolutely sent on the brakes. The McLaren also going to fire it in there, up and over the chicanes. It's held on by German Sim Racing. RaceFox weren't able to do anything. We've got 3 wide in the background between the fiercely forward IRS car, SimRC and GSR. RaceFox with a slowdown penalty though. They were pushed over the curb a little bit. They did send it in quite hard, did Gabler, dropping a position now to the 77 SimRC car that is working its way back up the order. We've also got the GSR, SimRC and fiercely forward IRS car that was a bit further down the order that were coming to blows. I think the IRS cars had to slow down, and RaceFox continuing to serve that slowdown penalty. They've now gone behind Radicals Online Track Racer. Excellent start to the race, 9th to 4th, back down to 6th on lap 2.
1 step forward, 3 steps back for Team RaceFox Esports right now, and that slowdown penalty, seriously, the corners are so slow at Zolder that slowdown penalty sort of extends all the way through, and that's why they've lost so many positions. Here comes the attack once again at turn number 2. It's a risky place to do so because it narrows down deep, but it does not matter for them. Seemingly they've got the edge. No, they have not. And Radicals Online, my word, that was some sturdy defense right there, and they're just making life so hard for RaceFox now.
Yeah, you've got to be, for Lucas Gabler, you've got to feel in the sense that he's going to be a little bit more cautious through turn 4 again and again, because that's realistically where the issue properly began. Although, to be honest, it was more the move that did not work, but, you know, we'll read into that we will. I'm not going to rule out podium. They looked pretty tasty on pace. I know we've only had 2 laps to really judge it, but remember, they did top practice earlier in the day as well, just before qualifying. I know their qualifying didn't go very well, but we know this team does have pace. Watch out for the McLaren potentially dropping off. The 77 SimRC car is getting more involved with that podium battle once again. Bram Van Putten behind the wheel and closing in on Andaruti. Fiercely forward Tricolor dropping down the order. What has happened to them? They are off the road.
Oh, no. What's happened to them right here? Has to be contact of some sorts. You normally don't expect to see them making a self-error like this one. But how good were they early on? Was that with teammates?
Oh, no.
No, it's the grass, isn't it?
Yeah, you can tell was overcooking it, and potentially was going to drive into the rear of the SimRC. Respect to them for choosing the grass and avoidance rather than just T-boning the rear car or just driving straight into the rear end of them directly ahead. Respect that they chose that option, and it's a shame, but they'll give it their next best effort. Lucas Gabler we're currently on board with on the race start. Let's take a look at this. Definitely no jump, just nice and cleanly judged. You see the 4 wide here between the SimRC, the 2 GSR cars, diving into the inside of the track, the Radicals Online Track Racer, and then getting... down the outside and does make it stick up into, potentially not actually. I was going to say they should have made that one stick. There is the 77 actually, the SimRC car that's got ahead. Is there going to be a mistake here? You know that the, it will actually be coming out of the chicane because the GSR car, watch the German sim racing McLaren that's directly ahead of this. It does, I believe, get a slowdown coming through turn 5. Might have been, let's see if we can see it. No, it wasn't a slowdown. No. It was just a massive moment, and Gabler just picked that one up perfectly.
Yeah, bad tail end slide right there from the McLaren. And is that just something with the German sim racing setup? Because early on in the qualifying as well, we saw them slipping and sliding and having such a tough time. This is just getting a bit crazy for them. But did you guys notice what happened right at the start of that onboard? That car, that RaceFox machine was so close to hitting the inside wall at turn number 1. It got me frightened. It's just amazing the kind of risk these guys are taking at those opening laps. And what's the best part is, there was literally not one bit of contact, not even a slight bit here at turn number 1.
I think the only bit that might have been would have been the bit of brush between the two GSR teammates. That was a little bit ambitious from the Maniti Racing white car behind, or was it the green car? It's the green machine, isn't it? Just overdoing it on the brakes and hitting the rear end of Braden Nash. Easy to do into that part because it's such a high-speed section. Oh, GSR gone! Oh, there we go. GSR off and away. That was just overdoing it from Christopher Hyman. Rear end gone. Is that going to be the theme of the evening for the GSR cars? Because they do seem to struggle. Oh, no, it's just grass. It is just grass. 100% grass. And away she goes.
And that's the beauty of iRacing. You put half a wheel on there and the service just plucks your car away and throws it into the gravel right there at Zolder. Not just at Zolder, at every single circuit. It's a common thread all the way through. And I've just got a feel for GSR right now. So much pace, so much potential packed into one, but that eagle just does not seem to find the free air to soar all the way up in the sky.
I've already said with when it comes to grass, I said time and time again, if you're going to go onto the grass, you either want to put your whatever wheels are going onto it fully onto it, or not at all. Because if you have it where you've got where it's half and half, that's where you have a problem, and that's where the spin goes. You can't get much closer to the rear end of a McLaren than Gabler was there. Now, once again, sending it down the inside of Squire Ecken, going to try and make this one stick. It wasn't defended from the Radicals Online Track Racer car, and the position will be completed in the hands of Lucas Gabler. RaceFox marching up once again. That's 5th spot. We'll say, by the way, the two Core Sim Racing cars leading 1 and 2 at present. Oscar Mangan and Maxime Ramstein leading 1 and 2 at present, but Antaruti is closing in, is right there.
Yeah, exactly. The German sim racing by heads in the machine is having a lot better of a day than their teammates in the ACV car. But a word on RaceFox and their Porsche. Honestly, I never knew that a Porsche could look so good from that rear-end camera. The best it's ever looked, according to me, in my opinion. But that IRS car, was that a Sen that I saw right there?
Not sure. It was more defending the position. They were ahead of the Maniti Racing green car at the start of the lap. Maria Hrushka behind the wheel at present. This is a car which, we've got to say, massive shame for. Started that first race in pole position, but they joined the race in the wrong numbers. I had a drive-through penalty.
Yeah.
And then we were kind of wondering, we're like, okay, let's start it with pole position. So we'd expect to see more of that form. And it's just not been there.
It's just been a case of getting to grips with the car. At Barcelona, it was largely just not there in terms of the drop-off of the car. They had the raw pace. We saw them, I think, get somewhere closer to top 5 one day, and then eventually just sort of tailed off later on in the stint. That's been their problem. And there goes Michael Gianni. Good send on the Maniti car, but what's even better is the respect he showed right there, backing off at the right moment. That is good racing.
Yeah, it was a good eye to try and give it a go, but certainly wasn't going to make that one stick. There would have been contact. We have seen that one work for Lucas Gabler, who, by the way, has just set the fastest lap of the race. Currently in 5th spot, fresh up into it after passing the Radicals Online Track Racer car and trying to make some decent headway. Yeah, not great lap.
Yeah, not great at all. The 54 car also facing the effects of those curbs. Just to think of those curbs, seemingly. I mean, the way to put it is, if you're not having all four wheels on the ground, how can you have control? If you're flying up in the air, there's no chance that the car will be under your control. That's exactly what's happening with so many teams. Saw that with German sim racing first on at lap number 1. We're seeing the same thing with Racing Forward, and so they have dropped back to Maniti Racing. And how interesting is it to see Maniti Racing at this part of the grid? They've been gaining confidence as the rounds have gone on. But you normally don't end up seeing them right here, don't you? You just end up seeing Maniti in top 5 all the time. It's a bit of an interesting thing, but I think it's the first time ever that they're racing GT4s at such a high level.
I was going to say, this is the thing, this is the oddity of GT4 racing, is that what's the form book? Who's good in GT4s? We don't race these too often, and it certainly has affected some teams in a positive way, other teams in a negative way. I know Course Sim Racing have had a little bit of experience, and not much. But they've done their fair share. It's good to see them racing, but like I say, it's just that sort of level playing field of everyone's trying to learn a car that they've potentially not raced too much. That Course in Racing 1-2, they've now started to pull away from the GSR by Hetzner squad. RaceFox, though, are right there for the podium battle. You can see them just there at the top of your screen. You've got the two core cars going through T5 now. You've got the GSR car, the Sim RC, and Team RaceFox right behind. I think, by the way, for third place, Sim RC are very, very close and potentially going to send something down the inside very, very soon.
Interesting stuff right here. In fact, RaceFox are also clocking in half a second faster than SimRC per lap. That's been the case over the last 2 laps right here. Now they've caught up. Now we get to see this three-way fight. And how comfortable will the GSR by Hetzner car be in the situation? Remember, they've always been the one chasing, always been the ones attacking. That's not what a GT4 car should be, though.
No, RSR by Primus Engineering, that I believe is at turn 4. Oh no, it's actually just down through the T7 chicane section. Has been off the road. Not 100% sure what's happened to the RSR by Primus Engineering, but you'd say it might involve the German Sim Racing by ACV. There it is.
I think it's the second race in a row that RSR have been punted off by somebody. Had it at Catalonia, had it right here as well. I just hope that they're able to recover back well in race number 2 from this one. Really can be a hard blow to sustain. We've done nothing wrong and they just get hit at the back. Stuff just happens. What can you do about it?
Yeah, they're going to jump straight into pit lane. Braden Nash behind the wheel. They've already been punted off once this race, and there's the second time. So a bit of a shame. And yeah, the damage is going to be mounting up. So they're just going to return it into pit lane and just get it seen by the virtual mechanics and realistically hope for the best. RaceFox, though, on the rear end of SimRC. And it was through this section that the Porsche seemed to get a decent, I say decent, actually very, very good run. We saw this from RaceFox earlier when they tried to make the move on the GSR by Hetzner squad. I mean, that is a very damaged car. Maniti Racing Green and Fiercely Forward going side by side. Oh, we're still going side by side. We're going to continue that on. Maniti Racing Green just trying to hold on the position, but around the outside, making it up. Fiercely Forward should be trying to get themselves in the 9th spot. This battle's going to continue down to the hairpin. It's fantastic stuff between the two of them. Maniti Racing Green going to hang on. Alcantech by NHR are really going to be closing down on this battle. Only caught the second half of that, but what a showcase from the two.
Absolutely super, but it's not done yet. Fiercely Forward again looking for a move down to the inside line, but they refrain. They look to fight for another day right now. Tremendous, absolutely tremendous. The kind of racecraft on offer, the way you saw both of them just leaving enough space, and the fact that they rubbed but did not let it continue for too long, that was absolutely stunning. And I get a good feeling that this battle is not done yet. We may be seeing round number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, call it whatever you like. This is going to go on for the long haul, and I love it.
Yeah, we are certainly going to see more of this, but great stuff between Liam McLinch and Michael Yanni. We saw some good racing from Yanni in the previous race. Definitely moving forward. There's a little bit wide from the Maniti Racing Green car, just pushing it too hard through turn 4, which we're going to see time and time again. We're going to see that one quite a few times over this evening, and of course tomorrow as well when we race here in the Sprint Masters. The GT3s will be taking to the race circuit with that prize pool of $25,000. Are we going to see another move here from Michael Yanni? Not this time, but this is a section where they ran side by side, and this could be the section where Yanni's feeling confident.
I will never get bored of watching cars go side by side on from T number 7 to T8 and 9. This is just such a fun piece of track if you see somebody go side by side. Not so much this time though. I think they're building things up. And what this does is create a very interesting scenario where you've got a mini T racing sandwich. One of the McLarens up there, one of the Porsches up there. You can see the gaps evolving on the circuit. Probably get a good idea of where the Porsche is stronger and where the McLaren takes the edge. And so far, seems to be a Porsche party all the way through, right? Top two are Porsches. The McLaren of GSR is not in the strongest position, I'd say, in P number 3. They've not had the most comfortable of runs so far. I think Porsche is still very much the car of choice in the series.
Absolutely. This was the sort of the odd circuit where we might have seen something a little bit different when it comes to the form book of the championship so far, which suggests that the McLarens are good in qualifying, not so great in the race. We're seeing that here, where their pace in the race as SimRC and Radicals Online Track Racer have switched positions just behind this. I think there might have been a mistake from the Radicals Online Track Racer car as down to 7th position. There you go, might have been a bit of a push wide at turn 4. But the thing is, the McLarens, they are pokey in a straight line, and unlike at Barcelona where the straights were long enough for the Porsches to overcome that slipstream, here they're just not long enough. The McLaren, if they can qualify better for race 2, if we can see a McLaren on pole position, I think it will be tremendously difficult to beat.
How do you out-qualify someone like Oscar Mangan and Maxim Ramstein though? That's the major problem. These two were phenomenal in qualifying for race number 2 at Barcelona as well. And this time it was Golombek who got the pole position for Sim Racing. That's the thing. They've packed their teams with, both the teams for that matter, with drivers who can do so well in both runs, and that is what's making Sim Racing such a stunning team. What's got me confused though is why SimRC are not quite able to build up that challenge. They're still holding back somewhat on that German Sim Racing car. Maybe looking for something in the long run, maybe looking for something on that second stint. Right now the major trouble is not in front of them, but behind them.
Where is RaceSpot going to make this position up? They've got to do it soon. And we know that the pace is pretty good through the chicane and then up the hill and back down, and the 31 will be desperate to make some progress. We're approaching the pit stop window though. It opens in about 7 minutes time. Once we enter the middle 10 minutes of the race, they'll be able to come in, service the car, switch the drivers out, and we'll see Gabler bounce from the vehicle and maybe stay in a little bit longer just to try and go for a bit of an overcut in a sense and try and gather some extra progress. By the way, behind this, Maria Hrushka, Liam McNinch and Michael Yanni are all battling it out once again, and might be McNinch's time to make a move as we go back to that and around the outside through the chicane. Let's see what happens here. We've got Hrushka currently on screen in that IRS car. There's a little bit of contact between them, and look at that, the fiercely forward car, the teammate to the IRS vehicle, going to swoop on through. It'll be the inside through the hairpin and might well work out for Yanni, but does have to send it. It's being covered off from McNinch. Oh, it could make contact with the McLaren. They all make the corner and they all carry on. We can be calmer now again.
I didn't know I needed this battle so badly until I've seen it once. Look at that! Alkidek NHR making a move on Fiercely Forward, and that will be a bit of a double whammy for them. Not able to get the move on Maniti and losing a position on Alkidek might be crazy, and now RaceSpot for the dive.
Yeah, Gabler making the move on Van Putten, a bit wide there from Michael Yanni. Matthew Crisp gains a position for 10th spot on the right-hand side of your screen. Race Fox Gabler up a position on the left. So we're seeing that progress for Race Fox. Are we going to see a 5th consecutive podium from the 31? The work is not complete yet. They've been in this position before. They've made a move on Antaruti before. It didn't work out and it cost them time and positions. They need to avoid doing that again.
They absolutely have to. Oh, what a
That could be a slowdown.
That could be a slowdown.
It is a slowdown. It is absolutely a slowdown. They've made that work to gain the position. They may have to slow down and give it back.
That was like a skateboarder in a way, just shooting up in the air and coming back. And but they haven't got the slowdown, have they? They just don't seem to be stopping now.
Now they did. There was a definite tap of the brakes rising up the crest. 100% there was a tap, and also the amount that was thrown over the curb. That's a pretty. I mean, to be fair, that's not good for the car anyway. Let's avoid the talk of. Oh, by the way, Chris just had an enormous moment. There we go. Look at that. You cannot tell me that is good for the car. Great slow-mo though.
So Porsche, you've seen that footage. Do you want to know how good rallycross racing is on iRacing?
Right.
Come on, send the car in there. We want to see more Porsche jumps. That was mind-blowing. But what's more spectacular is that Simasi didn't gain any time. I thought normally with that slowdown, Simasi would be a lot closer, but no. That gap is just building and building and building and building.
Unless Simasi had one themselves, it might have got away with it when it comes to slowdown. There was a definite tap of the brakes rising up the crest from Gabler, so I'd assume there was something in that vein, and there's a 2-second gap between them and GSR now, but obviously a lot of that would come from that. You got a bit of front end damage as well, which is a shock to no one. I don't think it's going to affect them too much, but you can tell the bottom part of the splitter is bent in, which we are going to see from quite a few cars, because the way they abuse the car actually might look all right from there. I don't know, maybe my eye tricking me. I've seen them bent in on quite a few of these Porsches though.
Exactly. If those suspensions could talk, they'd be absolutely grilling the drivers right now. They'd be groaning, saying, what is this sort of witchcraft that we've put ourselves into? This is just not what a car, at least a GT4 car, is meant to do. But are we going to complain about it? Not one bit. It's put up quite a good show. Now you've just got to wait and watch. Now we're just approaching that start of that pit window. Now, many a times we have seen some teams sort of go for it early. Sim Racing have actually decided to sort of wait it out in most cases. This is going to be fun. The undercut or the overcut doesn't quite matter here much. It's just about momentum though. Which driver you give more momentum? The one starting the race or the one ending it?
Also, let's not ignore the one major thing here, that GSR are not necessarily... Yes, they've dropped back a bit to 1.5 seconds. That could be just through mistakes, inconsistencies, little bits here and there. They've not... It's not been on pace that they've been dropping back. It might just be like I say, the perfect lap from Core or a couple of mistakes from GSR. They're there or thereabouts on pace as well. So not necessarily ruling out GSR having a good evening a bit later on. They seem to have the measure of the Zolder circuit as we ride on board McNinch in the Maniti Racing green car. By the way, I said before, the previous the car just behind us, Michael Yanni, did get by Matthew Crisp. There was an enormous moment from Matthew Crisp on the exit of turn 7 as they rise up and over that bridge. Just a bit of a large one, a bit of a slide. Oh, look at that. That's not a normal corner where we're going to see a send. That was a bit of a mistake. Did not mean to send it there. Hrushka's going to hang on.
Nice, nice. I like that intent right there from Maniti Racing, but that doesn't help them out in terms of time because they lose a couple of tenths right here. And that just puts them almost in the clutches of that second facing forward car. I like this, you know. I like the way this battle is going on. I just hope that they don't box immediately and we get to see this for longer. Because seriously, Maniti versus facing forward. And Tim Matske, the team manager of Maniti Racing and the co-founder of it, of course, as well, saying that it's a lot like Jordan versus Aston Martin. Yeah, I mean, that's a bit like the past versus the future. In a way, I love to see this sort of difference in color schemes, difference in the way the team is run and managed as well. Seeing this battle execute out on our screens, this just is super entertaining. I couldn't ask for more, to be honest.
I'm pretty sure it was Tim Matske had the doing the interviews and stuff prior to the season. Of course, you can see those when we're doing the races in the VRS SCO Sprint Masters tomorrow. We got little fun bits, and the challenge set to the drivers for the last round was to make an engine noise. Gotta give credit, the best one, the absolute best one.
He nailed it. He absolutely nailed it. But is Liam McNinch going to nail it right now? Closer than ever to the IRS McLaren. Watch how the McLaren just zooms past at this part of the circuit. But the Porsche is always showing the intent, always looking at the inside line.
Yeah, just the thing is, you're filling mirrors, right? And this, I've always said with filling mirrors, you've got to be careful with when you're doing it, because if you're doing it all the time, the driver ahead's just like, oh, okay, then I'm used to it now. Whereas if you time it, if you're filling the mirrors at the right points, if you're applying pressure at the right time, that's where the door opens. That's where the mistakes come. It's about lulling them into a false sense of security that you're not going to attack. No, I'm not going to go for it. I'm going to just hold here. I'm going to wait for things to happen. Oh, now I'm going to go for it. It's kind of playing your cards right. Well, now it is going to go for it. There's a send to the inside. Oh, it's respect between the two spaces given SimRC, by the way, up the order. I don't know what's happening. Oh, it's the pit lane entry. We're okay. I should have looked, to be perfectly honest, but the pit lane entry we're seeing as well coming into pit lane, the IRS car. Of course, obviously they're braking for the chicane normally. I got a bit of panic there.
That got me scared for a little bit as well. And it's good that they nailed it, because the pit entry here at Zolder, it's just full of chicanes, and there's so much time to be lost or won here as well.
Look at that car, though.
Yeah. It looks slightly battered, doesn't it?
It does look battered. It's seen better days. Whether that was just on lap 1 or more recently, it's not looking pretty. I guess it's one of those things that happens. You know, it's a brutal racetrack, isn't it? You know, you take the curbs very, very heavily around here, and the harder you take them, the more it bends your car. But when you look at all of the other cars comparatively, there is less damage on the other cars.
Yeah, SimRC, I'm not sure how that happened. I think we didn't even see them make any contact at turn number 1, or on lap number 1 for that matter. So maybe just constantly is abusing those curbs, trying to get a bit too much on those corners right there, while trying to attack simracing. But that hasn't happened. That hasn't worked out. simracing still having that 1-2. Still having that massive gap, as you can see on your screen right now, to German simracing and RaceFox and GSR Dive. Now then, there's a lot of variances in this battle. GSR going a lap longer than SimRC. Maybe we might see, who knows, RaceFox up in the next lap. simracing, as we always know, like to leave it late. So, variations all the way through. Variations in cars, variations in strategies, variations in how the races have gone so far. It only makes for a more special finish at the end.
Yeah, we did have a little chat prior to the season of, is there really much point in strategizing, in a sense? The strategizing itself comes down to, when I pit, am I coming out in clean air? When I pit, what's going to happen with these? When I pit, la la la. It's not the race strategy masterclass that you need to win a proper endurance race, where you've got to do everything from back to front and work it out upside down with algebra and God knows what else. It's hard work doing the strategy for an endurance race. Around here, though, half an hour races. We've also done 4 of these before. This is the 5th time they're coming across this format. If there are race strategists joining them from the teams, then to be honest, it could be the 9th time they're doing it, if they've done the 4 races of Sprint Masters as well, keeping an eye on it, because the race strategy plays out in a similar sort of vein. Yeah. The strategy is the same in the sense that there's a 10-minute window in the middle point of the race. So in that, how do you strategize a race like this? You don't. You just attack it.
And that's beautiful. That's what sort of brings this sort of action that we've always ended up seeing in a Sports Car Open Sprint Challenge Series. Normally, okay, so there's firstly one of the leading co-cars. That's a 34 that has gone to the pit lane. So they're splitting things up. But again, we come to that same point. There's no strategy per se. Maybe, I think the way they can choose it is deciding which driver takes how much time eventually, because of course if you leave it very, very early or very, very late, one driver gets 35 minutes, the other gets 25, that way around, and that's 10 huge minutes. And in case you have a slightly lopsided driver lineup, that can make a world of difference. But for all the teams at the top, they don't have a lopsided lineup. Things are fine with it. Things are very much equal. So it sort of takes that element out of the way. And it's a bit refreshing, this championship. We don't quite have strategy, so we just get to see more driver-based action, and that can sometimes be quite a rarity.
Well, I mean, if you're going to have a circuit where you're going to see a larger difference in driver, sort of the way they're racing on the circuit, this would be more so than most. We'll say Ramsey there, we did see it in the side-by-side there, pushed it very hard through turn 4. That's, like I say, that's fine doing it once or twice, but the more you do it, the more risk you take, and the more likely you could end up in the inside barrier.
Exactly. But he's Maxim Ramstein. He knows exactly what it's like. Yeah, he's just so good at pushing a car to the very limit, as he's done at this corner as well. I will keep a keen eye on what their in-lap was in relation to their teammates to see whether this one actually worked out quite well or not. But seriously, this guy is phenomenal behind the wheel of a Porsche. Remember, World Championship driver for sim racing as well in the Porsche Tagway Esports Super Cup too.
Gabler then into the pit lane, ready to jump out of the car after a very solid stint. Bit of issues, but we had a bit of side-by-side there. Let's take a look at that. GSR and SimRC going side-by-side down the hill into the chicane, and SimRC going to come out on top of the 77 ahead for now.
A pretty sweet battle right there. Jamie Moon getting into the car and immediately having a big challenge on his hand. This has worked out well so far, but German sim racing, as always, on the prowl, on the attack with the McLaren. This should be it. What a good cutback they've got right here. Turn number 1 might legitimately be their chance.
And look at the side-by-side as well, because Racespot, who have just been dropped off of the jacks now, they'll be departing pit lane and they'll be involved in this battle somehow. This is the fight for the podium in the race. At the moment, the 77 are heading it. Racespot departing pit lane. I think they'll be taking that longer run around the outside of turn 1. It gives them the shorter run into turn 2. I think this is actually going to work out for SimRC potentially. Let's take a look. Actually, no, based on where they've been released, this is looking very good for Racespot to be on the podium. It's going to be tight on exit. There we go. We're seeing that merge, and Racespot could potentially be onto the podium.
Very nice. Played it quite smartly, and I think it was an in-lap that helped out quite a fair bit. All that battling, all that scrapping did not help SimRC in terms of having the fastest of outlaps right there. And maybe those couple of tenths, that is what gave Racespot the advantage out on the exit. As you mentioned early on, Lewis, just picking the right spot, coming out and coming into clean air. How crucial can that be in terms of making a strategy work out? And also, fun spot right here. Notice those sort of fuel filling tanks? They're a bit of a thing of the past, aren't they? Not many circuits have them right here at the end of a pit station. I think Portimao does for the 24H Esports Series, but that's in a different place. Not like what we have at Zolder. Quite refreshing to see, to be honest.
It's one of those abnormalities with the circuit, which it's a throwback to its history, and it's it's how long it served the sim racing, the motorsport world. I was going to say sim racing world, but the motorsport world. And like I said, it's been around since 1963, so it has been around for quite a bit. But it was in sort of like the newer wave of Grand Prix racing circuits where they were moving away from the typical airfield-based racetracks, or more so standard road racing, in a sense where you look at Spa and Nordschleife and stuff like that back in the day. Well, Nordschleife now, where they're these gargantuan, enormous, very, very long racetracks, and this was kind of one where, in that vein of a shorter racetrack, which wasn't necessarily typical of Grand Prix racing back in the day, but it stood the test of time in it. We'll say Krosny, who's behind the wheel, might be struggling a little bit with tyre temperature, getting them up around here, and that might be where the time gap has come. And we'll say Krosny actually had the slowest pit stop between himself, Jamie Moon, and Mike Wagner, who's directly behind, had the slower pit stop. It was close for Moon, could have made something stick there, but backed out of it and will try and get a better run through the chicane and up and over the crest. It was just a lap difference. Jamie Moon jumped into the car 3 laps before Krosny did.
And that is such a mighty huge difference. Right now, we saw all these 3 cars get so close that at one stage you couldn't even see the SimRC car in the middle. That's how close all of them were in that side-by-side action that you're seeing on that bottom screen right there. And it's only going to get closer. It's only going to get closer as the intensity builds up, and each of these drivers realize the whole situation. They realize the gravity of this moment and the importance of this battle. If Racespot stays this way, I think they're just adding more and more onto the championship challenge. But at this stage, that sim racing 1 and 2 does not help anywhere at all. They've got a gap, yes. They've got the lead, yes. But this is just chipping away big time right now.
But which car is it going to be that is going to lead the way? Pascal Stix is already on the racetrack. Marius Golombek just jumping behind the wheel of the number 35. This could decide the race because they won't race it too hard past this point. And Marius Golombek then takes the lead of the race. The 35 car out front. That is a change for the race lead. The 35 car started from 6th place, has now worked its way up to the race lead. Pascal Stick started from the front row, jumped up to the race lead, and now drops backwards. RaceSpot here under a lot of pressure. The dive from Jamie Moon continues into turn 4 as well. Wagner as well, a part of this, might gain on both as we depart turn 4 on that run down towards the chicane at turn 5, and the McLaren is back up onto the podium.
That's like German sim racing coming in and cashing in their money in the bank contract. They've gone in and taken 2 spots in a row. That was so opportunistic. That was some tremendous driving right there. And Wagner reminding everybody that you don't have to be the flashiest of them all. You just have to wait and bounce at that right moment. And RaceSpots, well, the biggest winners have just become the biggest losers now in this case.
Yeah, absolutely. Off of the podium. Could be off of the podium for the first time this season. They've got Felix Luding as well on the closing into the rear end of them, as well as Tinnernev, who's just on the rear end of that Radicals Online track racer car that's closing in at present in 7th spot right now. So might see a bit of a fight closing out. I'm not sure if that... Yeah, I know it would be. It could be a tight fight for the podium here. The race lead is sorted. It's going to be, unless they come together, knock on wood, it's going to be a Core Sim Racing 1-2. And to be honest, I don't see them doing too much silly stuff. To be honest, I don't see them allowing them to race. I could see them like just hold this position and carry the 1-2 towards the checkered flag. What's not a guarantee is this entire fight here with the 2 Sim RC cars, with RaceFox, with GSR, and potentially as well Radicals Online.
Absolutely. This one is going to be as volatile gets, to be honest with you. And now Mike Wagner instantly under pressure from Jamie Moon right here. This honestly is turning out to be such a crackerjack of a battle, reminding everybody that even though it might be Zolder, even though this might be as narrow as a local alleyway, you can still race.
Luding issues. Felix Luding was a part of this battle, but is no longer. We'll catch up with that in a moment as his teammate is on the charge, diving it to the inside in the very, very battered Sim RC 77. Jamie Moon. What has happened to Felix Luding? You can see him there on the right-hand side of your screen. There has been drama. Not sure what it was. I think it might have just been a slow down, but if it was, it's an enormous one, down 30 seconds. I think there is issues with this car, or at least there's potential issues from a technical point of view with hardware, whatnot. There's so many things that could happen. Kind of getting it in area that he can't shift gear. They're trying. There's the shift. So finally, it's got it into gear. Is this going to continue? Yes, it is. Is it downshift as well? Yes. Might have fixed most of the issue, but seems like there's a bit of a technical problem for the 76.
How huge is that? How huge is that when you consider everything that's happening in the championship? The 76, a genuine title contender at all times, but things just haven't worked out either way for them. Coming into this round, they find themselves only in P10. And ask yourself, are they by any means whatsoever only the 10th fastest car on the grid? I think I'd put them somewhere near the top 3, but things have just been so horrible for them so far. This is not turning out to be horrible for their teammates though. Jamie Moon looking for something around the outside and smartly backing off. Oh no, slow down.
3 wide.
Slow down,
here we go. We go 3 wide over the crest. This we do not see. Wow, we are going to see this one unfold though. It's Krosny trying to gain both of them. It was a mistake from Wagner to absolutely send it. It was opened the door for Jamie Moon to come through. We don't see that often. 3 wide at Zolder over the crest. Who says you can't race round here?
Check your heart rate, my friends. It might be pumping right now. Wow, absolutely amazing. I don't even know what to say at this stage, to be honest. Zolder is just over-delivering. That's what a good race right here can feel like. I don't know, how many more cars can he squash into the track limits right here? This is just on the edge stuff. Tell you what though, a special friend has come on here nearby. Radicals Online Track Racer are genuinely in this, Lewis.
And for the podium as well, what a result that would be. Remember that they did not have a good start to the season. They had great pace back at Hockenheim. We're right up there. We're battling for, I think, sort of inside the top 10. We're looking comfortable as the switch down to the inside. There goes the move from Jamie Moon. It's Krosny who's going to have to try and hang around the outside. It is the outside line that potentially prevails here. You're on the outside line for quite a bit, but when you get to turn 4, you've got more speed and more of an arc to carry your way through. They're still side by side. They're just going to be costing themselves an awful lot of time. They're still side by side, and this is exactly what Radical's online track racer wanted. They're going to make it 3 wide once again. They've darted their way past Jamie Moon. Are they going to make it past the RaceFox car that's overcooked the chicane? Not yet, but as we rise up the crest, the position could go the way of the McLaren, and we might well see a McLaren on the podium. Look at that. Fantastically judged from Villeneuve. Oh, it was close as well from Jamie Moon. Krosny down a position. They're chopping and changing constantly. A bit of a mistake as well for the Radicals online track racer vehicle right now. And GSR have run away.
Radicals online, that sweeper on the outside, that just perfect. Exactly. The way they found the momentum, the way they found the grip. I didn't expect that McLaren to do that, you know. But that was just superb. And you're right, GSR running away with it. But are we bothered at this stage? Not one bit. This is just turning out to be a battle royale right now. Who can just pull out the most audacious move possible? I mean, I don't know what's next. Are they going to pull out a rabbit out of the car at this stage? I don't even know. That was just tremendous. They didn't find a gap. They made their gap.
Look at that from look, perfect on board. The perfect on board. You can see that RaceFox have overdone it. Perfectly judged by Maxime Villeneuve, and then over the crest. Now you see here around the outside, absolutely superb, absolutely top quality racing here in Sprint Challenge, and we'll see more of this, I hope, in Sprint Masters, and of course in Race 2 coming up a bit later. We'll see this all switch around in the driver side of things, and the hunt for the race win and podium will continue. Gollenbeck, by the way, has pulled out a further 3/10 on teammate, and so Pascal Stick's just not having the pace to keep up. Might have been a slowdown for the Core Sim Racing 34 car. They're just keeping that gap. They probably have no idea what's happening in this race behind. They're so far ahead and so far, to be honest, alone, that no matter what's going on there, they're just going to cruise their way to the checkered flag, and we have this to keep us entertained for the next 17.5 minutes.
Keep us entertained and then some more. This is just turning out to be phenomenal. And look at this. There's a touch. There is some contact by that Sim RC car right now. I get a feeling it's not the last bit of contact between them and the RaceFox team right now. RaceFox are being held up. They have got a move down the inside line, but not a move that was good enough to consider, I mean, for a lot of consideration from them, to be honest. It's just going to get better. It's going to build up. It's going to get more fun. And what I'm really keen on seeing, Radicals Online versus German Sim Racing for the podium. How good will that be?
Oh, Jamie Moon diving it to the inside again, just trying to open the door from race. This is just costing them time. It was almost a bit of a pointless end, but Jamie Moon will be a bit frustrated. That car did start from pole position. It has been in the wars a little bit. I'm curious as to how that will run through, because we've got the pole position starts on the outside line. It's more the typical of the racing line. Jamie Moon up the spot anyway to into P5. A bit wide as well was Villeneuve ahead of this, and a bit wide as well was Jamie Moon, and now the RaceFox car's back a part of it. They're just costing themselves time. It's just, I'd almost, and we spoke about it a little bit about how there is the record of second place turning into race win. Of course, that's ended now anyway. But it's still an interesting feat. Around here, I think there is a genuine reason to try and qualify second, because you're on the inside to turn 1.
Exactly. And that outside line, turn number 1 is so deceptively tight, right? It looks open on the entry, tightens up so much. You don't want to be at the outside. It's the last place in the world you want to be. And German Sim Racing, the ACV car, learned that the very hard way at lap number 1. That's the last place you want to be. RaceFox and Core Sim Racing, for that matter, they had their noses to the inside line. Look at how much they gained on that opening lap. But if you've got to wonder, German Sim Racing, what has happened since that opening lap? They've constantly shown the pace. They've constantly got involved in scraps. I think the highest they've been so far was P number 3, but really, since then, it's just been dropping back down all the way through. Goes to show that even the seemingly best team is human at the end.
Yeah, I mean, our championship leaders, like you said, they've been up They were in third position briefly. We'll go with that. They were in third position for about 2 apexes before they had to give it back up again. Slow down penalties and whatnot. Were desperately trying to make a move on the GSR by Hetzner car a bit earlier in the race. Or would it have been the AC? No, it would have been. No, it would have been the ACV car. I don't know. Who knows? They were going for it earlier anyway and tried to make it sick. It must have been the Hetzner car around the outside and just overdid it. And then slow down penalties. They dropped back all the way to 5th spot and they've been involved in this battle. That, I've got to say it again, that SimRC 77 looks... compare it to the other cars. Compare it to all of the other Porsches. I know there's a bit of damage, but that car is not looking pretty. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a little bit slower than what would be expected from Jamie Moon when he had that car that he qualified on pole position with.
Really early on, Lewis. I think we just need to pull our money in and open a RaceSpotTV scrap shop nearby at Zolder. Yeah. All these parts, I mean, they're just going to mint us money. As long as people keep on driving here, I think we're just going to keep on getting rich.
I think it was Townsville in 2014, 2015 in supercars, and in one of the races, one race alone, they worked out, I think it was maybe $500,000 Australian dollars of damage, which is about 25p. But it was, joke aside, it was a lot of damage built up over that race. That they had to repair. They do happen. You have those races where you just constantly making contact, constantly here, constantly there. But just imagine how many spare parts that is. So right, it's Saturday. We've got to repair for Sunday's race. Where do you get all the spare parts from? Thankfully, in sim racing, we can just hit the escape key and get a fresh car, at least for the next race.
Really, if we're talking about spare parts and big damage, Macau 2017, that big pile up that we ended up seeing.
Absolutely.
I was supposed to feel sad about that crash, considering all the millions of dollars that have just been burned up. But the fact that they got crunched up like that just made it such a funny scene in a way. Not if you're an investor, not if you're the one running the team, but seriously. And look at this, big error from Maniti. German sim racing bounced on that extremely well. That is the challenge of the Klein chicane. Get it wrong, not only do you get a free ticket up to space, but you also get a free ticket to lose your position.
Yeah, it's Veers, I think, just overdoing it there and getting a slowdown penalty for good measure. And just having to reduce speed off the corner and... Yep, dropping the spot is what it is. Happens, but you can be sure that it won't be the last time we'll see that this evening. P4, Tilinov under attack for position number 4. SimRC are right there. Going to complete another lap. 12 minutes left on the clock, so not long to go in the race. Not many opportunities, and the McLarens are hard to attack for the Porsches. That we have seen. Whilst, yes, there is an 11-second gap up to the race, we've seen these 2 and 3 wide, so let's just ignore that realistically, because that's not the story of the race. The McLarens do look plenty capable around Zolder, and we've seen that time and time again. I mean, they're 3rd and 4th, for example. They are running very, very well around here. So hopefully we'll see this one continue for them. They're looking good. They're looking hard to pass. That's the main thing.
Very, and that's just Zolder. That's just traditional Zolder. Blocking off the right lines, blocking off the right apexes. Can work out.
Crossley's dropped right off the back of this as well. You can see that. I mean, I'm assuming there's been a slowdown for the Team RaceSpot sim racing car. That's now 2 seconds back, rears of the podium battle, which, to be honest, might not be the worst seat in the house if the racing continues the way it was earlier, and we're seeing the 2 and 3 wide that we were seeing a bit earlier in the race as the Alcantech NHR cars had issues. They've been around.
Oh boy.
That's the chicane, the Klein chicane. Once again, another car going for a spin. Wonder if that was solo or an assisted attempt. Well, we'll have to take a look back at that one in a moment, but yeah, for that trio battling for the podium, we may well see more drama from them. Looks like it's going to be solo, and there you go.
Oh my! Again, skateboard analogy. You go for one of those big descents down the rink, and eventually just see the rear end of your skateboard clamber down, and eventually all that you end up with is a broken tooth. Maybe. Right. I mean, you don't end up with a broken tooth with the car, but you get the analogy. Your front bumper is going to be absolutely scraped up. and the Alcantech car. It just pains me to see this because the Alcantech team have been gaining in confidence and they've been gaining pace all the way through. This just puts them in the wrong way around. But I think they'll bounce back. I think they've been on a good run of form lately. Tell you what though, SimRC are on a good run of form as well. After their issues, seems like they are finding some form and they have made up a position on that Porsche right now, obviously forward.
Yeah, it looks decent for Felix Luding here. Of course, it was what we believe is shifting issues for them, which you'd hope to get fixed, at least for the next race. And by fixed, I mean you'd sit here thinking, well, it's clearly fixed, it's sorted. Yeah, never guarantee with that kind of stuff. You never know, because it could just be a little bit of a bodge job, just resetting some stuff and hope for the best, just trying to get the way through this race and then reset it for race 2 and hope that the issue doesn't crop up again. It's one of those things, we have technical issues in sim racing. They do happen. Wheel failures, God knows what. You can have anything, whether it's a button not working, whether it's... I mean, how many times have you been in a race and Windows has popped up to tell you that your C drive's filling up? I'm trying to race, mate. I can't do that. These things happen in sim racing. They're our variant of real-world issues, and there is just one for Luding. It's a shame, it really is, but up inside the top 10, there's still some okay points, just ticking them off, and then you'll come back stronger for race 2.
Well, one of the more bizarre issues that I've had during one of my races was my mum walk in and say, okay, dinner's ready. And I got distracted, ended up crashing. But that's just not a surprise. I end up crashing in every single one of my races. And when you end up racing at circuits like Zolder, I mean, not that they're pretty much available on the open series races, but even if you once have a race here, you'll kind of understand why we're respecting this good clean racing so much right here today. It's such a hard thing to do. Having that clean racecraft, having that respectful racing is genuinely such a skill to have, and these drivers have demonstrated that to great effect here today.
It requires to follow the concentration thing up. It does require an awful lot of concentration to focus in a race like this. You really do need to be one with the car, and any sort of distraction, someone washing some dishes or walking around, or to be honest, even the smell of cooking really throws me off. I'm like, oh, now I'm hungry. I can smell it. I can't focus on what I'm doing, and it can be genuinely troublesome. You can see their fastest laps of the race, and realistically, you might be shocked in a sense, but Team RaceSpot have the fastest lap of the race. It was just after the pit stop sequence, if I remember correctly. Oh no, it was a bit earlier than that. It was in the hands of Gabler, if I remember correctly. And either way, 6th spot for them. They will be disappointed. 9th in qualifying, and what looks to be a pretty set 6th in the race when they were battling for the podium.
Yeah, the big question in the mind for them is genuinely going to be what could have been. But they don't have a lot of time to dwell on that, to be very honest with you. Now that this is done, they're just going to come back in, and this is fun. Radicals online battling up against SimRC and keeping their position in. Again, there's no time to dwell in this series at all. You get freed up from one battle and immediately there is another one on your back. And honestly, this is nice. Maxime Villeneuve has been super aggressive all the way through today. And Jamie Moon, I mean, he has been on fire, making some tremendous moves around the outside as well. If anything, this probably could just end up being the most, what can I say, explosive battle of the race so far.
Yeah, certainly could be. We've got 2 McLarens battling out for the podium and a Porsche directly behind. It would be the first podium for a McLaren this season. It's been Porsche lockouts at the front. I think the highest placed non-Porsche isn't a McLaren. It is a BMW, and it is the Aztec SimSports Volante Racing blue car. Last round out at Barcelona, they ended up finishing 4th in one of the races. A really fantastic effort from them. But that is actually the highest placed non-Porsche this season. Definitely going to see a McLaren at least equal or beat that. It's just, is it going to be a beat? And who is it going to be?
And also, how cleanly are they going to beat them up? Because, not beat them up, but beat them on track. You can't beat another car up unless it's Transformers. That doesn't happen right here in iRacing yet.
Tell it to the front of SimRC's car.
Exactly. That is completely beaten up right now. But no, coming back to the point right now, it's a genuine intriguing factor, this one. When will we see McLarens coming up with race-winning pace? When will we see them actually end up winning without any shenanigans? Tell you what though, SimRC look a lot more confident in this battle between them and Radical's online track racer right now. 5 minutes to go, slots are limited, and at this stage, generally, Jamie Moon has been through hell and back in that car. I don't think I'll be surprised if I see him go for another major send right now.
Yeah, I get it. There's definitely something going to happen in the final 5 minutes of this race. They'll have a few more laps to run around. But this is the point where you kind of, you were saying to yourself 10 minutes ago, it's all right, I've got plenty of time to attack. I've got loads of time to attack this. I'll be fine. An opportunity will show itself. Now you see that there's 5 minutes left in the race and you're thinking, oh, I really do have to make this one stick. And now for Jamie Moon, it could be happening quite soon. Got Tilly overhead. Is there going to be a send to the inside? No, the top speed of that McLaren is just enough to keep them at bay. Crosney doesn't have the pace to close down. Once again, it went out to 2 seconds. The gap between Team RaceFox and SimRC, it's now closer to 3. So RaceFox's pace, at least here, not looking as to the form that we'd have. It does seem that Crosney is struggling a little bit with this track. Maybe obviously qualified in 9th spot. Currently in this race for the second half of it. Will have to start the next race, of course, courtesy of the format that we've got here. I get the feeling a driver that might not be gelling with the Belgian countryside.
Exactly. Might not like the waffles and the camping and all that sort of stuff right now. Just not working out for RaceFox right now. Maybe foxes are better off in dense jungles rather than flat plains. Maybe. Or
out on the forest of the Ardennes. Maybe they were hoping that it would have been Spa,
yeah.
But alas, not so. Very, very different racetrack to Spa, this one. But, it's good for Belgium to have a couple. I'm not sure what races around here these days. Of course, you've got the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. Not sure what else races around here. GT3s used to race here in the Blancpain Sprint Series, but I don't think they race here anymore. DTM might come here? I'm not 100% sure, if I'm honest.
I don't think DTM do come here. The last I saw, there were some touring car races happening around here and some other amateur spec races. I also saw that that championship that Mavi Raghunathan ended up winning, the Boss GP. I think they had a race right here as well with old Formula 1 cars. Not a race, it's just gentlemen drivers doing a few hot laps with a green flag and a checkered flag at the end. So,
right. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I'm sure someone will correct us at some point. I know that NASCAR Whelen Euro Series races here. That is 100%.
Those races are fun.
Sure. Those races are fun. Those cars look pretty good fun.
It's just a giant soapbox slapped into a corner. How do you ever get any sort of downforce in the corners? Fact is, you just can't. It's such a high pressure series, such a hard one to drive on. Manual gearboxes as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Do like seeing a bit of an H pattern being used properly. Not many series left for that these days. I think there's only, below like top Formula, there's plenty of races where you'll go and race in an H pattern. But these days, realistically, you've got it in NASCAR, although it's coming to an end very shortly. And outside of that, I don't think there is really anywhere that's running it in a national spec or international spec series. It's very, very uncommon. Realistically, which is a shame, but it is what it is.
Technology. But yeah, coming back to the point
technology moving on. It's what it is.
Exactly. Coming back to the point of Zolder, I think DTM is going there this season early on in August. Just, I think, a couple of weeks after this particular race. And if tomorrow's race is any good, I know, of course, we can take a little bit more liberties on the sim. But still, if tomorrow's race is any good, imagine what the real-world race is going to be like. Real-world GT3 cars at Zolder with the stakes so high. It'll be quite the show here, to be honest.
And they'll be faster than when Blancpain raced it, courtesy of differing tyres. They're not on Pirellis or whatever these days. I can't remember what they raced in Blancpain. It might be Pirellis. But they're obviously on the Hankook, so it could be much, much faster. Either way, let's focus on what we have on screen right now. The podium battle, a bit of a bump on the rear end from the SimRC 77. Jamie Moon, a part of this battle. A couple of mistakes from Wagner, and this battle is absolutely on, and you can see him waving the flag in the background. Mr. Barney out there in force, of course, shaking away. White flag in the air. Let's see what's going to happen here. It's a course in Racing 1-2. They're gone into the distance. We know that one for a certainty. who is going to be joining them on the podium. At the moment, it's GSR by Hetzner. Radicals Online with a lot of pressure on their rear end from SimRC, but can Jamie Moon do anything?
It'll need quite the run right now. He has to go for it. He has to go for the send right now, but he refrains. I think the time is just coming up for turn number 8, Lewis. This just is going to be one last gasp opportunity. But look at this. Radicals Online, they're getting a better run right now. Suddenly, the hunted have become the hunters.
Yeah, let's see what happens. GSR just managed to hang on, and that might be a bit too much of a mistake from Tilly Nerve. It might be GSR on the podium, joining the two core sim racing cars who are coming down towards the final chicane. Can SimRC make anything stick? I'm not 100% sure. It's got to be done down here at T8. There's the commitment on the brakes. There's the send, and getting out of the way is the Radicals Online track racer. Either way, out of the final corner as SimRC get up to 4th. Core sim racing going to make it a 1-2 as Marius Gollenbeck and Ramstein once again win, but this time it looks a little bit more secure. They won back in Barcelona. It's technically back-to-back on the racetrack. Shake away, son. Off you go. Core Sim Racing on top here at Zolder, and SimRC, oh, I thought they were dropping back there. Might have been because they've returned to pit lane or something in that vein, but either way, late move there to get up into 4th place. That was a bold dive, and let's be honest, the Radicals Online track racer car was almost scared out of the way.
It was, yeah, that was a very well executed block pass right there. Much like what Marc Marquez would do on Andrea Dovizioso so many times in MotoGP. Well done, well executed final lap move, and that's the power of intimidation coming into action. But all things considered, are Team Radicals Online going to be disappointed with P5? Not one bit. It's a tremendous result for them. But is it anywhere close to being as good for Core Sim Racing? Not a bit. They have been, can we say, flawless in a way? Because the leading team just came from P6 and ended up winning this race.
I would go. I'd give that a flawless display in the race to dive away through. There you go. There's that dive inside. There was a little bit of contact. Like you say, it was a bit of a Marquez dive. The only difference was that Dovi always seemed to have a bit of a response. I think it was 5-1 in their last lap battles, which was always a good one. But I loved seeing that on a nice Sunday afternoon. But regardless, that was a good send from the 77. Could be very, very important for the championship for them, gaining just an extra couple of points. And why not? Wasn't quite the podium. We do finally see a McLaren on the podium, and we'll have to see if we're going to see that once again. You got the results on your screen right now. Marius Gollenbeck and Maxime Ramstein taking the win for Core Sim Racing. It is a Core Sim Racing 1-2. Pascal Sticks just behind. Wagner doing the work in the latter part of the race, better than in qualifying. Did qualified all right in 4th spot, but was a couple of mistakes in the latter point of the session. Could have been more. Either way, the race working out for them, and it is finally a McLaren on the podium. Jamie Moon for SimRC up there as well, and then the Radicals Online track racer car just dropped down to 5th position on that final lap of the race. Team RaceFox, what could have been? They were up the order, down the order, back up the order again. It started from 9th position, moved up to 6th, but they could have got their podium. Their streak is now over. Fiercely forward IRS with the GSR by ACV car. Maniti Racing Green and SimRC. The issues for Felix Luding in that second half of the race drop him down into 10th. Behind this, the fiercely forward Porsche and the Alcantech NHR McLaren. Maniti Racing White, the final finisher. Issues for RSR by Primus Engineering, being taken out twice throughout the race, and the fiercely forward Tricolor car also having issues earlier. Core Sim Racing then heading to the front. From a theoretical standpoint, it's their 2nd consecutive win. Are they unstoppable now? Are they taking control here in the championship? Well, we'll have to wait and see, won't we?
Absolutely. So far, they've got a very good grip, and that grip began at the very start. Look at them on the inside line, capitalizing. We went 4 wide, we had a tad bit of contact, but everybody survived. Genuinely, could you have ever imagined anything quite like that at the start? Answer for me, a big fat no.
Keep your eye on the 77 as well, that started from pole position and dropped right back, currently 5th. RaceFox were working their way up very well in the early stages. They started from 9th position. The Alcantech NHR car having the first of its issues and going for a bit of a spin on the exit of turn 3. This was the issue for that RaceFox car, battling it out with GSR, cutting way too much of the chicane and then getting a slowdown. Bit of a flash of the lights, was not very happy, dropped the 77 through, who they were trying to work their way back up the order after a poor start. You also had the Radicals Online Track Racer car that was in it from the early stages. The two fiercely forward cars were battling out. Tricolor were marching forward before their untimely demise in the race, but realistically at this point, even now, we were thinking that it was very much heading the way of core sim racing.
And then later on, my word, these battles, the one between Fiercely Forward and Maniti Racing, got me so entertained. This right here was the perfect example of a hardcore midfield scrap. And the best part is they did that for a long way through. And all the way through, it was just amazing that we got to see that mixture between the Maniti Porsche and the Fiercely Forward Porsche. And later on, we saw the Maniti Porsche battle against the Fiercely Forward McLaren. That was fun to see. And this battle just sealed the deal at the very end.
Yeah, what a battle it was. The battle for the podium was looking absolutely sensational. We were seeing side by side all over the place, including a cheeky bit of 3 wide indeed. Team RaceSpot were trying to get themselves involved and try and get their 5th consecutive podium. Was it to be? Well, unfortunately, the answer to that was no. This is where they went 3 wide over the crest and down the hill. It really was sensational from them. And German sim racing were able to stay out in front of this. RaceSpot were committed on the brakes, but it wasn't enough to get by that McLaren that seems a little bit better acclimatized to Circuit Zolder than the previous venues. Hard to pass, good in a straight line, and they are absolutely on it, trying to nail that qualifying. Radicals Online Track Racer were involved in the mix. They would get themselves a part of this party and work their way very much onto the scene. In the final moments, would it be good enough for the podium, as we've got the side-by-side between the SimRC and RaceFox directly ahead of this? And well, who was it who picked their way through? Absolutely, Radicals Online Track Racer. There goes one past the SimRC, and then out of the chicane, it was past RaceFox as well. Could you get a better timed move than that?
Absolutely not. Just watch the run, watch the flow, watch how they surge past that McLaren right there, just proving everybody wrong. And still, this was still not the end of it. We got to see more pandemonium, more drama. But core sim racing, my word, how consistent, how superb were they all the way around. The best part is they've got another race to show their dominance all the way through. I'm quite intrigued to see which way things are going to go right now.
Well, we can catch up with the team themselves. A 1-2 for core sim racing. Marius Gollenbeck, he is here with us. Well, that one looks a bit more secure. What an effort. Dominant from core sim racing. Thoughts of the race?
Thanks a lot, guys. Yeah, it was perfect, obviously. Getting P6 in quali was a bit of a disappointment. Just it's really hard to get the lap together on Zolder, obviously, but should have definitely done a better lap than that. But it's all good when Maxime gets a great start like that, and this is what a legend. I mean, this is all up to him.
It really was sensational. Let's talk about the start of the race. I'm sure you're watching on and holding your breath. Maxime making it 4 wide down into turn 1. We don't normally see that at Zolder, but talk us through the feelings within the team when that was happening. What a brave move as well.
We had a quick chat before the race, and having P6 on the grid with a track you can't really overtake on, it only leaves you really one choice, and that's getting the start right. So we were already prepared to be aggressive on the start and maybe do something into turn 1, turn 2. If somebody does a mistake, you might get a chance, but I think he just nailed the start, went right on green, and then the guys ahead left the gap open to the left, which is kind of what you want on the inside. And we were a bit lucky that we went 4 wide and people had to back out because it's hard to stay on the outside. So we went from there, and luckily we came out P2 after turn 1.
Well, from a, again, I said it on the broadcast, from a technical perspective, it's the 2nd consecutive win for you. Of course, there was that penalty last round. Let's not talk about that. Let's focus on the positives. Have you figured something out in this car? You seem to be getting stronger as the season's going on, and now taking the top step once again. Is there something that's been worked out?
I really don't know. I think the car just works great with what we have in the setup on Zolder especially. I don't think it's something we found just for the track. It might just work better here. Preparation's been great, and yeah, I think it's just putting in time once again. It's all what kind of gives you performance in the end. So in a car like this, where you don't really have that much setup options, it's the drivers and it's the preparation and the team behind it. And I think we did an awesome job with everybody getting together, driving the car, and then we also run the same setup on both cars with maybe just the tiniest adjustment. So it's really a team effort in the end, whoever wins.
Absolutely, and it certainly was. Thank you, Marius. We'll catch up with your teammate as well, Pascal Stix, who is here. I say teammate, I'm talking about the sister car. We've got the 34 as well. Starting from the front row of the grid, looked pretty good at the start of the race, but then your teammate had to make all that progress early on and spoil the party.
Yeah, so it was Oscar, had a brilliant start, same as Maxime, and just were first after the first corner and led all his laps. Came into the pits as first, gave the car to me as first, and then yeah, I'm a bit disappointed in myself because I made a mistake when the other car was in the pits. I don't know if you caught it on the broadcast, but I had a slowdown in the first chicane that cost us exactly the time that we were behind the other car. Yeah, but in the end, doesn't matter. It's a 1-2 for the team. It's all we wanted to achieve, and we did it. So yeah, perfect first race.
Okay, I've got another question for you as well. When it comes to starting, pole position, outside line for turn one, you started, or the 34 started from second place on the inside line. Is there a bit of a push to almost try and qualify in second? Because that inside line through turn one seems pretty potent.
Yeah, that's true, but I don't think you can try to go for second in qualifying. It's so close, and the times are... the small things decide, and if you just hit it slightly wrong, then you're third or fourth, and then it's worse. So I don't think you can go for that. You still have to go for as fast a lap as possible, and if you're lucky and start second, then that's the better.
Well, congratulations to you and the team. Fantastic stuff for Core Sim Racing. Best of luck in the race as well. Back to Somel. What a race we've had. We're going to see more of that action, I'm absolutely sure.
Oh yeah, just another big race coming up right here on RaceSpotTV. There's no reason to go at all. Formula 1 is done as well. What is it, Friday evening? Just grab your drink, or if you don't like a drink, grab your meal, whatever it might be. Settle down is what I mean to say, because very, very shortly we will begin with race number 2. And normally, race number 2, well, in terms of starts, race number 2 has been more chaotic on every single round. I hope that drivers can survive the start of this race, because honestly, once that they did in race number 1 here today, things were just super. We saw so many tremendous battles all the way through the field. I can only imagine who can fight each other now in this second race. So many different combinations. Imagine so many different sort of mini battles that we can get to see in this next 1 hour. Just gets me so pumped up to think about them.
Yeah, I think we're in for another thrilling fight. There is that question, though, when it comes down to that run into turn 1, if you're starting from second position. Second qualifying will be coming up in a moment, and race 2 to follow it. For Core, though, they're in control right now. They are in the pound seat when it comes to taking the top honours for here at Zolder. They're very much in control around here. But now everyone else is asking the questions, how do they respond?
Now, that is a tricky one to answer, because we don't have anything like a reverse grid or any virtual gimmick of that sort. It's all based on merit. How much can you extract from yourself after having just a 5-minute break from the first race to the second one? Of course, the driver who ended up finishing this particular race, the race number 1, they will have some time. They get back into the car around the halfway mark when the pit window opens, but still, just getting yourself in that right zone, setting that perfect qualifying lap immediately after you've come out of a very hot stint, this is going to be some challenge. And all the way through, we've seen that the grid order can be misplaced. I mean, not misplaced, it can be changed around quite a fair bit. Race number 2 has a genuine possibility to upset the apple cart, and this right here could do just that today.
We're at Barcelona, by the way. We spoke of the time differential that we saw between the races, of course, because the second race that we had was run at evening, was going into effectively a bit of a sunset period. It meant the track was colder. In this, race number 1 was at about 9 o'clock in the morning in game time, so the track was warming up. we're now around about midday in game, and we're kind of more talking of slightly higher temperatures. I don't think we're going to see a faster racetrack in race number 2.
Yeah, we're not. And that's going to be a major problem for teams like German Sim Racing and I think fiercely forward IRS, who both of these teams, of course, having quite a few slidey moments across the race all the way through. Even Alkitech NHR, unfortunately, weren't quite able to get to grips with things perfectly fine. So they're going to be ones to watch out for, especially German Sim Racing during qualifying. They were so slippery all the way through. I almost ended up biting my nails watching them drive in qualifying last time out. Keep a keen eye on them. Keep a keen eye on how they can execute things here today.
Yeah, indeed. Second qualifying underway at present. We're down to just 13 cars at the moment, so the 2 that have retired from the last race are not rejoining us. But let's be honest, we only had 15 cars last race, and we saw 3 wide. So yeah, I'm not necessarily suggesting that that's going to actually impact the show that we have, because we had a fantastic one in the previous.
Yeah, 100%. With these teams, with these drivers, how can you not have a good show? And again, coming back to that point about mini battles, imagine how many fun fights we could pluck out. For instance, German Sim Racing versus Mini T Racing. Who wouldn't love to see that? Or, for instance, for that matter, we could have a bottle battle like Course Sim Racing versus Team Fiercely Forward. We've not seen that in its full intensity all the way through the season, but if it pops up on your screen, be honest, how pumped up would you be for that one? Or maybe, for that matter, we can see Alkitech NHR fighting Miniti Racing at the back. And it's unfortunate that both these teams are at the back right now. But the way they're just getting pace, the way they're getting confidence, I wouldn't be surprised if they end up fighting for positions around the top 10 in a couple of rounds' time. So all the way through, there's these fun fights that you can pick out, and every single round just makes it fun, just adds a lot more context into the racing.
Absolutely, and once again, it got to do the old reminder that when it comes to winning and stuff in the series, that the drivers aren't the only ones doing the winning. VRS and Lego are giving away a Lego Technic Porsche 911 RSL. We'll show mine off a little bit tomorrow, at least the box. We're going to build it in the off-season, don't panic. And of course, VRS, a DFP wheelbase at the end of the season. You go to giveaway.sportscaropen.com to get yourselves involved in that. Session underway, and to give you a little bit of a reference, it was a 34.712 that Jamie Moon did to set pole position in the previous race, already starting out with a 34.9. I'm not saying that the track is going to be way slower this race. It won't be ridiculously slower, in a sense that, you know, cars aren't really running around at the moment. We're just getting back up, so the track temperature will build up through the session. You might see the last few laps actually being quite a bit slower in the session, but realistically speaking, it shouldn't be too much slower, just maybe a tenth or two.
Yeah, maybe a tenth or two. Maybe the grip levels might be slightly different as well, so it might take a little bit of time to adapt to things. But I think it shouldn't be too bad. I think, considering how much practice all these teams and drivers have put in, I think they should be okay. If anything, I think they might have put in more practice for this particular round, to be honest with you, because in most cases, we spoke to quite a few teams all the way through the season. Most of them said that they prepared for the race that was hotter a lot more. So maybe, yeah, I think they should be fine, considering all the effort they might have put in. Yeah,
well, we'll have to wait and see, won't we? Course Sim Racing then on pole position at the moment. Ramstein doing the work, and who was on pole position last round in race 2? That's absolutely right. It was Maxime Ramstein. So maybe feeling very, very confident in qualifying format, and on display at the moment, top by 0.2 of a second. Finally get to see once again that Miniti Racing BMW, the Miniti Racing White. Nopefel behind the wheel at present. I don't know how to put it harshly or nicely. We're not expecting amazing things from this. If I'm being perfectly honest, and this is quite brutal, I would expect that car will qualify in last. The thing is, though, it was around difficult circuit. We've spoken before how across the season, I think their average gap to pole is probably around about 2 seconds. The fact they're down to 1.5, I'm not saying it's perfect, I'm not saying it's great, but there is a definite visual step that you can see being made from that car.
Half a second, that's a lot. Honestly, having a BMW at Zolder is just out of place as a conversation on racing in my friend circle, to be honest with you. That's how absurd it is. Oh no, should I actually, yeah, no, I think that'll be a bit too intense, but still, whatever. It's a bit more absurd than seeing one more than one trophy in England's international football trophy cabinet right now.
Oh, I
But
see.
It's
You
filling
can,
up on the
fire
cricket
the
side.
shots, it's fine.
It's filling up on the cricket side, and I can't say much about football. My team doesn't even qualify for anything, so that's one thing. But honestly, coming to the BMW, it's just not meant to be here. It's just the last place the BMW would want to be, if any. Send it at the Red Bull Ring, though. It'll be just beaming with happiness. Although that said, how will the BMW designers show happiness on their face? Because currently, those kidney grills have just ruined it. It shows more of sadness than happiness, if anything. It just shows, I don't know what that is. It's bad.
I will say I interviewed an Italian. We did a race yesterday, and an Italian driver won. A good friend of mine, Marco Fiducci, and after the interview, he then said, "Oh, and by the way, it's coming to Rome." And I was like, "Thanks, mate. Cheers. Cool, good one." It's a bit of banter. You've got to have a bit of fun. You do watch the real live sport. You get involved in your own form of competition. That's the hobby that we take part in. You take the highs with the lows. And the thing is you build friendships and stuff throughout it. So why not have a bit of banter?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And, yeah.
GSR and Radical's online track race. Team McLaren second and third, both setting identical lap times, 35.132.
This is interesting, and it's not the Hetzner machine we saw do so well in the last round. It's the ACV car. Yeah.
It'd be very interesting indeed. Obviously, very tight margins. The RaceFox car that's only 100th off. There you go. You can see the gap there. 0.214 of a second. Go back 100th of a second. You've got Team RaceFox, who seem to be a little bit stronger in this session. Gabler doing the work in qualifying at present. Bram van Booten into the pit lane after being dropped in the early stages. Let's go with that. Was started from pole position, which is on the outside line, didn't get a great launch, and then it was 4 wide and they were dropping positions before you know it. Managed to bounce back fairly decently, but for the 77 there will still be disappointment from them. They might have wanted a little bit more, and they might want to bounce back a little bit better, although I would say that 7th and 9th, not really what SimRC wanted right now.
Not at all. Just not working out for them. I don't know what's happened since Hockenheim. For the Felix Luring car, we saw, right? Felix Luring just had some issues with the shifter. That wheel just did not work for a second. Then it came back, thankfully, but the damage had been done by that point. I don't know, it's been a bit of a curious case, to be honest. What has happened to SimRC after that opening round in Hockenheim? They were fine at Barcelona, not the best in the world. They're somewhere in the upper mid-pack, which is interesting because we sort of doubted them as potential championship winning contenders. But if there's one thing we have noticed, the pace is there. The pace is always there. Just something or the other has been happening right now. And you can't quite put a finger on it as to say exactly what it was, but it'll happen. I think they'll just grow into this championship more often. And later on, when we come towards the end, I think really we're going to see a crazy fight between SimRC, RaceFox, and I certainly hope so. Maybe just a few other cars in there as well. Maybe some of the McLarens.
Got to remember as well that this is the final round before we take a nice long break. We are away for quite a while after this. It is actually not far off a month, 4 weeks until we go racing at Monza. So we're entering what is effectively the off-season after this. So any issues that you've got, maybe less of an issue because you're not racing on back-to-back weeks. This is the final part of a pretty relentless triple header, racing for 3 consecutive weeks, then taking a break. And they'll be racing for 3 consecutive weeks as well to close the season. So any issues that you need to sort out, there's your time to do so. You absolutely need to figure it out. After speaking to Cole there, Marius Gollenbeck saying that their setup at the moment matches the car really, really nicely. So got to figure it out.
And the best part is they've got time to do so. Not any major races coming up in the middle as well. Of course, we've got the SCO 24 Hours of Spa coming in the off season, don't we? So there's going to be one event that they have to prepare for. But otherwise, I think it's all chill. 3 weeks is a good 3 or 4 weeks is a good time to prepare for the next set of rounds. And I wonder how they prepare. Do they prepare round by round by round or in bulk? Because seriously, triple headers like this can be super demanding. When you've got other championships as well, that might be crazy.
I mean, of course, the 24 hours of Spa there, which has its own unique thing, being we'll say unique. You know, we've seen it before in sim race, but an endurance race with a prize pool of that amount, 10,000 euros. The prize pool for the 24 hours of Spa, which is not a bad day's work if you can take top honours. That is absolutely sure, but you do have to work for it because it is a full 24-hour race, which is going to be high pressure from top to bottom. You can guarantee it. Lucas Gabler currently on screen at the moment for RaceSpot, qualified in 4th spot. Needs to do a little bit more work, but if he improves by 12 thousandths of a second, we'll jump up 2 positions and jump onto the front row of the grid, just ahead of the GSR by ACV. Not trying to aim to only gain 12 thousandths of a second, wants a bit more than that, and has a bit of slipstream from the 76 car. I know it's not a circuit where slipstream will affect you too much, but realistically, if you can take anything, especially in qualifying, take it.
Yep, really though. Honestly, how close are the gaps at the top? How insane is it? See that everyone is so bunched up in that same pack right now. Again, Gabler could be potentially going only slightly faster, but that's the thing, right? Slightly faster might be a couple of positions right here, which makes it all the more interesting. But what I really like is seeing that number 53 Fiesta forward car with Michael Janney behind the wheel. Janney or Yenny, I might have to get that confirmed by the next round, but yeah, he's doing a tremendous job. He's right there in P number 6 and ahead of both the SimRC machines.
Yeah, doing really, really well. Did well at the early stages of race 1. Unfortunately, that car did not have a good race towards the end of it, but did very, very well in the opening stages. Of course, we'll sit out the race start this time, courtesy of how the format works here. So all the drivers qualifying will sit out the race start, and we'll see that switch around. So they're qualifying for the other driver, and to be honest, the 35 that has taken, I've said it before, they've taken 2 consecutive race wins on the track. Now, whilst you can rule out Barcelona, they still finished second, so you can still definitely count it as 2 consecutive podiums, at least. Winning the last round. Are they looking to sweep Zolder? Because starting from pole position, if they can do it, which Ramstein's looking pretty solid for at the moment, 2 tenths clear, the biggest gap inside the top 12, hands it over to Marius Golombek, and we know the quality of Marius Golombek.
Seriously. Golombek has been one of those star performers of the series so far. Always such a fun driver to watch out for. I don't know. On paper, all the lineups look so well matched. All these big names that we've seen compete in other championships. Yes, in many cases with other cars, and that's the great leveling factor. GT4s that not many drivers and not many teams have worked on it as actively. But seriously, when they've come to the track, simracing and Golombek, they've really been so superb. All the way through, the combination has just looked great. In terms of qualifying, they've got the right drivers. In terms of managing good race pace, I think they can do that dual role quite well. And I think that's some place where we might see that we are seeing some sort of a loss in that aspect between German sim racing and SimRC in that aspect. So I'm getting slightly intrigued by this about how things will play out, but Go have maximized everything that they've had on paper. On paper, the gap looks so close, they're just extending it big time on the track.
I will say GSR potentially holding on to, realistically the most expensive bit of real estate in Belgium right now. P2 on the start, which could be very, very important. We'll watch how that one works out as well tomorrow in the Sprint Masters, because the inside line it is on that run down into turn 1 could be absolutely crucial. And we know that McLaren is hard to pass around here. Radical's online track racer, who we're currently seeing just behind them by less than 1,000th of a second. Is there going to be any improvement across the line? The answer to that one is a solid no out of 10. But still, 5 minutes left in the session, and still plenty of times to come in. You desperately want to be on the front row. I'd argue you don't want to be on pole position, but you want to be on the front row of the grid. You want to be second.
And there's been so many discussions in the series Discord about why second place is the best place to be in right now. And GSR, seriously, they just have the clearest space possible now. They just don't have to bottle it. And I think they can do a pretty good job at that. I think they were pretty good with the Hetzner car in the first race. Now for the ACV machine, what can they do to claw their way back in? And honestly speaking, I think RaceFox are in a good spot too. They were in a similar position. I think simracing started 6th, didn't they, on the inside row of that very first race. They ended up winning and they had a tremendous start. So I would say that inside line can be working quite well here so far. GSR, RaceFox and Fiercely Forward, watch out for them early on. They might be on roll here.
Absolutely, absolutely. You've got to see how they work their way through. We're focused on RaceSpots right now. If they're going to improve, this is you want to. I almost want pole position. I'd want to improve enough to get on the front row of the grid, which again is not a huge improvement. It's taking a couple of extra K into a corner. It's rolling it off a little bit earlier. It's driving off a little bit cleaner. It is such a small margin to try and get ahead of Radical's Online Track Racer and GSR. And then going to start their final laps of the session. 2 for them. They can complete 2 to see if they can get themselves onto the front row of the grid. 3 minutes left in the session. Oscar Mangan also leaving the pit lane from 5th. Will desperately want to improve off of the outside midway in the pack. Fiercely Forward from that 6th spot. Maybe that's the position you want to start the race from.
Yeah, just enough behind so that you avoid all the carnage of turn number 1 between all the guys at the top, and just in the right space so that if anything happens you can eke your way past on the inside line. Seriously though, if you're someone like Racing 2, if you're someone in a 35 car, will you be going, oh no, I've got pole position? Can you imagine a statement like that ever coming from a racing rider?
Absolutely not. GSR by ACV are in the pit lane. Is that them done for the session? They will have enough time to get out if they choose to do so, but remember, because of the way it works here, they'll actually have to come in and then effectively serve a pit lane sequence. So it would be changing tires, which I can tell you the stationary time is about 67 to 69 seconds is the pit lane travel time. The stationary time's something in the range of about 40 seconds. So realistically, they've got to be leaving pit lane, to be honest, in the next sort of 10 seconds if they're going to get back out there. Maniti racing green off of the back row of the grid and jumping up into 10th position. But our GSR are going to leave the pit lane. I'm actually not sure if they will. Second position for them right now. Is it going to be enough? Is Gabler going to be able to improve onto the front row of the grid? Once again, still not. Radical's Online Track Racer into the pit lane as well, so no one's making any improvements. Track temp's only up a degree. Interesting.
Oh, there we go. There's a cool car. No, that's not the cool car. I think there was Radicals Online that had a bit of a spin in the background right there. But hey, I think right now, with only a minute left to go, I doubt that we might see any changes. And we might be celebrating P2 more than P1 for the first time ever in qualifying.
Dim RC, the 77, starting from 7th in the pit lane. Not going to be able to get out there and improve. Look at that from Core. That would be classified as too much curb running through the T5 chicane. That one being Ramstein in the 35, our pole sitting car at present. His teammate Oscar Mangan is driving around at present just a little bit behind this. We'll see if there is going to be any improvements by anyone. GSR by ACV, by the way, actually did manage to get back out onto the racetrack. 40 seconds to go. Oh, that's not going to work. I didn't think they're going to have enough time to get round and start a lap. And cutting chicanes to try and make up the time, well, one, will be looked badly, or like race control will not look fondly on that at all. And number 2, you'll get slowdowns for doing it. So it's an irrelevant point.
A bit too aggressive, Maybe save it for the race, maybe save it for a very fun battle. I don't know, might add to the entertainment quotient all the way through. Not quite needed though. And I seriously can just have images of that SimRC car in the first race flashing by in my mind. How aggressive were they on the curbs? How badly damaged did their car look at the end?
Yeah, certainly did. They were in the wars a little bit throughout the race, not just in the early stages, but also later on as well. Remember, they started on the outside and then got pushed around a little bit and dropped down. Core Sim Racing, look at that from Oscar Mangan, up to the front row of the grid at the final moments, and that's why you needed to improve. Pushes everyone down a spot, and so for those breathing a sigh of relief, oh, it's all right, I'm going to start on the inside line. Cancel those plans, thank you very much. And the 34 going to be starting on the inside line on that run down towards turn 1. How crucial could that be? As we see Core Sim Racing on the front row again. That is sensational stuff.
If they can all survive the start, German sim racing will have an agenda against that 34 car. They've taken away the best possible position to begin from them right at the death. And now things are going to be interesting. This actually puts Radicals Online in a very good spot as well, though.
Very good.
Imagine what they can do from a situation like this one. Ah, come on. This start is just going to be on fire now.
Yeah, RaceSpots are not in an ideal spot now that they're going to be starting from 5th. There they are. Didn't have a great race 1. Looks like they might have a bit of a struggle in race 2. They're all returning to pit lane. I think GSR is going to try and stay out and complete a lap. Again, I'm not sure that one's actually going to count. Timing behind the wheel now dropped down into 3rd spot. Either way, 2/10 off of the pole. 3rd, great qualifying. Just didn't have the answer late enough, and Core did.
So, was that... I mean, that decision by German Sim Racing not to go out there, you can't say it was a bad one considering the circumstances, but we did not expect this sort of a performance by the 34 Core Sim Racing car. That was just superb. And again, regardless of that 2nd place, 4th place, 6th place inside line narrative, look at this. 1 and 2 from Core Sim Racing in qualifying again.
Frantic last-minute changes once again that'll affect the race order. Starting grid about to come up, and we get ready for the 2nd race of the evening. Core Sim Racing then are going to lock out the front row of the grid for the 2nd consecutive race 2, and it is in the same order they were at Barcelona. Maxime Ramstein with Oscar Mangan alongside. It's the 34 starting from 2nd for what is, I believe, the 3rd consecutive race. GSR by ACV directly behind. They were happy at the early stages of the race of qualifying, but now dropped down to 3rd. They'll have to start from the outside of the 2nd row. Radicals Online Track Racer looking pretty handy on the inside, doing a great session in qualifying, same time as GSR by ACV. Then Team RaceFox going a few positions better than the previous qualifying, with Fiercely Forward alongside them on row number 3. SimRC's number 77, well, it was a bit of a disappointment and a early end to their 2nd qualifying session. GSR by Hetzner a little bit further down the order. SimRC's Felix Luding maybe sorting out some of the issues of the previous race. Hopefully we'll clean up the shifting issues and we'll start from 9th spot. Tom Zviers for Maniti Racing Green from 10th. The penultimate row of the grid, Alcantech NHR and Fiercely Forward IRS, not looking good for the two McLarens a bit further down. And the BMW Maniti Racing White, Sebastian Volker, going to be starting from the final 13th spot on the grid. 13th, unlucky for some. I don't know how much they're going to march forward from that spot, but they're here to learn, and they are learning so. So, for the 2nd consecutive race 2, as I was saying, Core Sim Racing locking out the front. They are here to mean business. They 1-2'd the previous race. Now look at how strong they look.
One of them, though, in a better starting position than the other one. And it's not the one you think it is. It's not the pole sitter. It actually is the 34 car. The imprint on the championship could be huge if both of them walk away with this very position. But that's the thing, this season has not been conventional. Not one race has been simple, easy going at all. They face a major challenge from, well, a returning threat in a way. The German sim racing ACV car had a bad first race here today, but the pace and the potential has always been there. Can we finally see a McLaren win here today, or do we get to see our 3rd Core Sim Racing 1-2 of the season?
Well, we'll have to wait and see for that one. There's going to be plenty of questions to answer throughout this race. You've got to say, if you're going to start this race from the odd-numbered position, so what will be the outside through turn 1, if you can hold it there, it does give you the inside for the next corner. We saw 4 wide into turn 1 in the previous race. Are we going to see the same thing? Are we going to see Core attempt to almost communicate to try and hold them side by side through turn 1 so they can then navigate from that point onwards? Or are they just going to attack this? How are they going to fight their way through? And is the 34 going to be able to bounce back from race 1?
And what about teams and drivers like SimRC and the Fiercely Forward IRS machine? Normally they qualify a lot forward than where they are right now. SimRC, by the way, P7 and P9, you don't expect to see them there. Maybe it just might be a blessing in disguise. If we get to see too much action at the top, they can sneak their way past. But that is a big if. But an if that could be very possible because it's Zolder.
Absolutely. And if the previous race is anything to go by, I have no idea what to expect here. You know what I'm going to do. Who's coming out on top?
I think it'll be the team that is bolder and Zolder that ends up winning. Sorry for that terrible rhyme right there. But I've got to go for Co. I've got to go for a Co 1-2. Because we saw Gollenbeck win the last time. No, I think we might just get a swap around this time, you know?
I actually don't think we will. I think that 35 said they won the race at Barcelona. They obviously lost it on track afterwards. They won the previous race. I reckon, at least from an on-track perspective, it could be 3 in a row for the 35. Well, there's only one way to see. Get your suggestions in chat as to how you think this one's going to play out. The second race of the night, we're about to hit the halfway point of the season, and we're about to see some thrilling action once again in the VRS Sports Car Open Sprint Challenge. We're getting ready to go racing. It's a course in Racing 1-2. You can see the grid there is much more spread out than they were in the previous race, and across the line it is going to be Marius Gollenbeck in control, already going 3 wide behind this. In the background you've got German Sim Racing trying to slot their way through the 2 course in Racing as the Radicals Online track race. There's contact and the 35 has gone. The 35 has absolutely been sent out there. GSR trying to make it 3 wide, continuing to go 3 wide, but this time it's with the SimRC cars. The 77's been pushed off as well. You've got the Radicals Online track racer car, Maxime Tillineuve, up into 2nd place on the grid.
And that's just 2 major championship contenders forced off to have a camping party in the gravel on the first lap. That is absolutely mighty for the championship. And watch this, the 2nd German sim racing car trying to get an edge right now over Felix Nuring in the 76 machine. Told you so. SimRC, in a way, it's a blessing in disguise for the 76 car. Yeah, for sure, their teammates are out, but they are up in the P number 3.
Yeah, huge drama. I mean, I was wondering, I was going to say after a frantic race 1 at Barcelona, we had a bit of drama on the start at race 2, but I didn't want to say it in the sense of the expectation that we had on this race is that might have happened, and, well, it happened anyway. So, RaceSpot as well. Slow down for RaceSpot. They're going to drop another position. Our championship leaders coming into this have dropped all the way down to 10th place. Not the start they wanted. Let's give a round of applause for the first lap anyway. Maniti Racing White up into 9th. Go on, lads.
What a jump. That is quite the first lap from them right there. Now partially assisted by so many crashes right there. Talk about the big names that are gone in that opening lap. The German sim racing ACV car, the car that was 3rd in qualifying. Then Jamie Moon, our pole sitter. Not Jamie Moon was our pole sitter. Go Sim Racing, Gollenbeck, our pole sitter.
Oh, the German sim racing car's gone as well. Followed on from the Radicals Online track racing car, and Mike Wagner has absolutely gone. We've got a side-by-side for 2nd spot as SimRC are trying to work their way up. Felix Luding fixing the issues with the paddles on the shifter and trying to work their way through. It was so close from Maxime Tillineuve on the rear end of Marius Gollenbeck into turn 1, but so close was too close. Pushed the nose down and went straight on. Fiercely forward, IRS from 12th position to 4th are now battling out for the podium.
What? I honestly don't even know what's happening in this race so far. It's happening at such a rapid pace. Go, 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 go all the way through. Do I love it? 100%. My word, IRS, they have had such a run so far in this race. 8 positions gained. They started in P number 12. I was a bit shocked, to be honest, to see them right there in qualifying, but it does not matter one bit right now. The same can be said for that 76 SimRC machine. But coming back to the point, how many big names have we seen have troubled so on early on? RaceFox having a drive the slowdown penalty.
Again.
And honestly, Lewis, I think it's the 2nd slowdown penalty of the race weekend today.
I think it's the 2nd slowdown penalty of this race in 2 laps. Really not good. Right, let's pick this one apart. Watch the GSR car in the middle. Sends it down into turn 1. All kind of comes together. That is a... Ooh. a cluster. So much happened there. I'm pretty sure that RaceFox as well copped a bit of damage as well. Was GSR are off the road again. More is happening. Fiercely forward IRS are trying to battle it out onto the podium, coming around the outside of turn 2. Black and yellow versus black and yellow could be good for the McLaren though. Not quite enough to get by the SimRC car yet, but you can see that McLaren's looking pretty pacey in the hands of Rebecca Pauline, our opening pole sitter of the season.
The battle of the bumblebees is coming along quite well here today. Outside line it is for Rebecca Pauline. It's a bold move, this one. Doesn't work out in this case though.
Felix Luke absolutely sent that one in, was like, nope, I am not having any of that. You'd more say that in that sense you'd expect discretion's the better part of valor and backing out of it and all that, but Felix Luding was not interested in any of that, and Rebecca Pauline, well, had to work to try and gain that position. It wasn't so. This is what happened to Lessa Molman, Team RaceFox getting involved, maybe just pinching across the nose of the Porsche a bit too much there. It's not really a great section for 2 wide. That's what sent them around, so not good for GSR. Carnage Field Race 2, it seems to be a theme.
Seems to be a team as well. Seriously, it's been manic since that very beginning. Now, keep your eyes peeled onto the bottom half of that timing screen as well. Watch out for comebacks from, firstly, the RaceFox team. They're going to get double tagged, of course. They double tagged the Maniti Racing white car along with Cosim Racing. Watch out for both these cars right here. Both of them legitimate championship contenders. Both of them having so many big results in their back so far this season. Now, their progress is going to be such a sight along with this machine right here, the 77 SimRC car. That's had pace, but not enough seemingly in qualifying.
Yeah, apologies by the way, I did say it was Marius Gollenbeck that was in the leading car. Just going to correct myself, of course he is the one that was in the 35 car that's way down the order. Let's take a look on board with Mike Wagner for GSR. This is the spin. There we go. So again, this is exactly what I'm talking about, is that if you're going to touch the grass, gravel or whatever, you want to touch it completely or not at all. Just pitched it where half a tyre is in the gravel and the other half of the tyre is on something that actually grips. And when you have that, you've got a complete unbalance on the tyre because it's in that equilibrium of no grip plus a bit of grip. And when you do that, it just goes. And it's so fast, it is 100% uncatchable. You just have to understand whether you're going to do it or not before you've actually done it, which I don't know about you, I'm not clairvoyant, I can't see the future, and it's hard to tell.
Well, you can control your entry quite well in a situation like that one. But really, you've got to feel for German sim racing right now. How many big results seem to be coming their way until a self-inflicted error or some sort of crash or some sort of accident happened and they ended up fading away? Hockenheim was a situation. Both races, I thought they could be in the top 5. Eventually their pace dropped off. We all know what happened at Barcelona. No need to rewind that back a lot. And again here, they got that podium in race 1. Things are just unraveling, not for one, but for both the cars right there. Both of them right down to the very end. But the fastest laps now. Things are changing. Things are getting faster now.
Marius Gollenbeck trying to attack Kevin Crosley. That's what we're seeing on screen right now. Fastest lap of the race in the slipstream with the Team RaceFox car and trying to work their way back up the order of the I'm going to say the once championship leader. They are not the championship leaders anymore, and I don't get the vibe they're going to leave the round as the championship leaders. Came into it with 4 consecutive podiums and leaving it with that record well and truly broken. The inconsistency does come to everyone's favour. Well over the curbs there for Gollenbeck, breaking the entire front right of the split. You can see it there bent up already and just absolutely demolished. Looking to the inside to try and make a move on the RaceSpot car, but no way through on Kevin Crosley, who doesn't get a slowdown penalty this time, although I will say he doesn't get a slowdown penalty, but he's very slow through that section, and you can't blame him if you've got a couple of slowdown penalties. You think, I can't get another one, I cannot get another one, and then you go so slow through that section, just opens the door. Gollenbeck doesn't need another invitation. Away he goes up into 9th.
I think we've slightly jinxed the RaceFox team right here. They've had so many unfortunate driver errors here. And I was saying that they've been sneaking their way past. Today they've had the focus all on them. And sadly, a few errors have come along in that direction. Again, I think the best part for them is that they can work together now, maybe get a few positions. But that's not going to happen because Cosim Racing, only in a couple of corners now, already have a gap of what, 3 odd seconds, 3 odd tenths there.
It's kind of one of those scenarios where they're just not dealing with the pressure of being very much in the limelight. Some drivers and teams really do well when the focus isn't on them. They're like, oh, wow, look, we're actually doing really well as a team. We're doing a lot better than we expected. Whereas when you come into it, now you're expecting to get a podium. It's actually harder to get. And, in sim racing terms, as in real life, the old chef saying of if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that pack up and leave, but I'm saying that you've got to be able to deal with the pressure, which unfortunately it does seem that they're having issues with. I mean, I say that it's one of those tracks that could just be a bogey track for them. They've not been lacking pace around here. They've had good pace. It's just not worked out for them. Good move from Jamie Moon, fresh after setting fastest lap of the race as well.
Yep, 100%. He's been on a run right now, Jamie Moon. That first race was a bit terrible to say the least, but now finally there seems to be momentum. Now finally the tide is in his favor. Things could be quite fun in that aspect. But I totally get it. RaceFox are more of an endurance racing team. I think I haven't quite seen them in many sprint racing championships before. So maybe just get into grips with it. And as you rightly mentioned, Zolder, it is such a bogey track, quite unlike any other circuit that we've got on the calendar. So maybe I think we're putting them under too much of a spotlight this time out. Maybe we can let things roll around. Maybe we can wait and see how things can go around and how they might look later on in the championship. Tell you what, things are okay if you're Jimmy Moon right now. Not too good, not too bad either.
Well, I mean, for Jamie Moon, you've got to feel a bit for him. We're sent off down at turn 2 on lap 1 as well, so he's on the recovery warpath that Marius Golombek is also on. And the next one for Jamie Moon to pass is, of course, the Alcantech NHR car. And Zemestra, who's behind the wheel of that, pulling over to one side and almost opening the door to be like, look, I know I get the vibe you're going to send it, tapping on the brakes again, and allowing the 77 of Jamie Moon to go through. Heads up driving. Oh, that is a backbreaker if ever you could see one. Marius Golombek's also done that himself. And I think that's heads up driving from Zemestra. Zviers is also going to try and make a move here. That's a proper send. But that one's going to be fought a bit harder. That I do like as well, knowing who you're fighting with.
Exactly, they know SimRC have got the pace in that aspect. No need to fight them, no need to waste your time. Instead, pick the right battles. That is good race awareness, by the way. Ends up helping you get a much better result than you would by trying to fight SimRC. It's inevitable, right? It's inevitable that they will end up going past unless something really bizarre happens. So this is going to be quite the fun battle. McLaren versus Porsche, Alcantech NHR versus Maniti Racing Green. Normally both teams that you end up seeing a lot higher in all their championships, both teams that are getting to grips with the GT4 machine. Things are aligning well for them, very much similar in many aspects. Who gets the run here at Zolder? Who gets the better position now in the second race?
Wonder how hard Zemestra will fight Marius Golombek when he's knocking at the door, because he will be. You can see there that the next car, the core sim racing car that's behind, that is Marius Golombek, and Krosny as well behind, so they are charging at the moment. The only one outside of the top 10 is, of course, the Maniti Racing white car, who were doing really well earlier and then have dropped backwards to the rear end of the field. The two German sim racing cars are out of the race after early issues. But again, that BMW is here to learn, so power to them, and hopefully, especially with the 4-week off season, they'll be able to piece it together a little bit better and come back stronger in the second half, because we know that BMW's got pace. We've seen that the Volante have proved it. Felix Luding, by the way, up past Villeneuve and up into second spot. Not sure what happened to the SimRC car, but this is looking better for the 76.
Yeah, it is. They've actually capitalized so well on all the chaos that's happening in and around them. There's that move, and wow, that is some sin. They make contact, of course they do. It's only enough, just a gentle love tap. And does that open the door for the fiercely forward IRS team? They seem to be close by.
Or the fiercely forward Porsche that's directly behind as well.
Oh, yes.
They are very, very close. They're down a team as well, because the Tricolor car is not here in this race. A bit of a shame for them. A shame not to see those beautiful colours of the fiercely forward Tricolor car. Villeneuve, though, is not done with this. I think they've kind of accepted that the 34 car of Pascal Stix is gone. And for them, they're wanting to finally win from position number 2. We were talking about how big, starting from P2, it's great. P2, P2, P2. The last 3 races they've started from P2. They've obviously, the 2 previous ones they've started from P2. They've not won. So looking to restore that record, and I think would be pretty good. 3 seconds they've got on the rest of the pack after just 15 minutes of racing. Very impressive.
If someone had to drop a text message to Pascal Sticks right now, and if they were asking, well, Pascal, what are you doing? Nothing, mate, just chilling. And but chilling is not what their teammate is doing right now. Colin Beck having to attack on Maniti. Look at how much air the Maniti car gets. They make contact, they spin around, and that is what happens when Zolder International Airport, well, just launches you off in the air and makes you have a bad day.
You can see Golombek as well has made contact with the barrier. You can see it there on the front left of the car. If you watch the tyre tracks as they were going off, Golombek has definitely been into the wall slightly. I think the front left might have... It's seen better days, let's go with that. So what happened there, side by side into the chicane, I'm sure we'll get a replay of it anyway, but side by side into the chicane, up and over, and the thing is, when you're battling it out that hard, Zviers maybe overdid it a little bit, and then Golombek's too close to do anything about it, and there's only going to be one thing that happens there. Neither of them are really in control. Obviously, Zviers is trying to regain control. Golombek's trying to gain the position. They're going to come together. It's just how it is. This will be a very interesting view on board with Golombek.
Seriously, it's a lot like those spins that you see in movies.
Yeah,
the car just... and oh no, Golombek has damage on the left-hand side of the car. Now I wonder how significant that is going to be, because he is up for a major comeback in this race. And the next car up, Kevin Crosney and RaceFox Esports. That is a hard nut to crack for them. This is going to be crazy. Just like this one.
Yeah, he's already attacked. He's already tried to get by Crosney. He's already made that position up before, so has to do it once again. Over the curbs, quite hard there was the Radicals Online Tricolor car, Maxime Tilinuev, who's behind the wheel presently. Looking very, very good right now after being passed by Felix Luding. Rebecca Pauline as well is there in tow and will fancy something as a part of this battle. And then Isaac Jean, the next car behind, although I kind of get the feeling maybe dropping off of the pack. And look at that. Look who is coming. Look who is chasing down this and fancies to put 2 Sim RC cars onto the podium. That's 77 of Jamie Moon.
How much do I like to see this battle? It is just an all-star one right here. One Sim RC versus, well, Radicals Online. Then we've got Fiercely Forward. And then, it's not just one, is it? I think there's 2 Fiercely Forward cars right there. Oh, that's not Damien Owen Harris piloting that second one. It's Isaac Jean driving that car right now. So I hope Isaac's having a good time. First race in the championship for him. First race in the season for him right now. And already making quite the strong impact so far. But he's got a hard customer behind, and Jamie Moon. Things are going to be a bit tough. Baptism by fire, isn't it? That's what the term's called.
Certainly is. If you're going to join it against the very best. So always said this: if you want to ever improve at anything, always challenge yourself against the best. There's no point in loading up against medium AI and being like, oh, ha, I can win or whatever. It's like, oh, who cares? If you were on a full-on top-level grid, whilst yes, it would be hard, you would genuinely improve almost regardless as to your talent level. You would. I'm not going to say you're going to start winning races or rising to them or battling, but the distance between you and them will shrink if you just constantly challenge yourself against the very, very best. 3 seconds is the race lead at the moment, so Sim RC that have cleared away from this group by a second are sitting firm. I'm not going to say they're closing it down. It was 3 seconds at the end of the previous lap. It's going to continue around about 3 seconds, so it does look like that they're matching pace with Core Sim Racing. So once again, we're seeing everything, that the balance has been restored almost somewhat. Core Sim Racing and Sim RC looking like the 2 strongest outfits of the series.
Yeah, finally. And I hope it's just a bogey on this one. I hope it's just a one-off, because I want to see RaceFox in that. I want to see them fighting. I want to see them constantly being sort of like a Lone Ranger, isn't it? They're the only, I think, one of those top teams that has only 1 car in there. Fiercely Forward has 3, Core Sim Racing 2, Sim RC 2. Them alone right there is such a novel sight, much like Radicals Online, and they are having a send on them.
Proper send from Rebecca Pauline. That was an absolute dive at turn 2. McLaren's going side by side. see if we can get another race where we see a McLaren on the podium. We're saying before we haven't seen a McLaren on the podium. We might see two here at Zolder. A little bit of a tap of the brakes on the exit of T4. A little bit of contact between the two as they're brushing each other, departing the corner. And could we see another bit of 3 wide here? Isaac Jean's going to back out of it. Rebecca Pauline is going to absolutely send it once again. There is contact again between them, and there's going to be a switch between the two fiercely forward cars. SimRC as well are a part of this. Oh, they were a part of it. It was 3 wide as well. Was wondering what was happening to the tower. Was very confused there. And Jamie Moon's getting both of them.
SimRC have just won the battle of the Bumblebees, and it's the McLaren that's end up being the biggest loser of that one. Pull a sneaky on them, pull a sneaky on both of them, and the fact of the matter is SimRC have now been relieved. Now they can focus on getting one up on the Radicals online team. Look at this replay right now. Seriously, just working that inside line to perfection right there. Wowee! This is close.
Love it. Love the bit of 3 wide. And Jamie Moon's not settled for that. Fancied gaining the podium. We're going to see 3 wide again. It was a little bit tight off the corner. And Isaac Jean's also going to get involved for fiercely forward. The Bumblebees are not done yet. The battle does continue on that run into turn 1. Proper lunge on the brakes from Jamie Moon to try and hang on to the position. Rebecca Pauline's back a part of it, and now teammate drops out of the fight, although might just leave the nose down the inside wall. That was tight between them. A bit of a dive there on Tiddy Nerve from Jamie Moon at the final corner. Open the door, not enough though.
Not enough, yeah, exactly. And so it's Rebecca Pauline's turn to attack. But is it going to come before or after SimRC make that move on Radicals Online? It seems inevitable that they'll get that pass. Not for Radicals Online, though. They've been blocking off the lines very consistently. What do you reckon, though, Lewis? Do we get a pass? I think we're going to get it right now itself.
I think we certainly are. Is it going to be enough, though? You know, the McLaren and that run through T6 is just enough to hold firm into the 7 chicane. There's contact between them. There's going to be a bit more as well. And the 77's front end returns to the way it was in the previous race. Back apart of this, Rebecca Pauline around the outside. It's got to be done, though, down to the hairpin as well. Isaac Jean, you know, will try and follow through. McLaren's looking pokey in a straight line and trying to cover off the charge of the SimRC car. Again, a dive to the inside. Rebecca Pauline regains 4th position, and that 3 wide tussle to gain all of it has once again fallen away from the SimRC car. They're back to 5th, and Rebecca Pauline is onto the podium. There's a send down on the brakes, up into 3rd spot. The door was open, and certainly enough, and there once again comes Jamie Moon through. It's got to be around the outside of turn 1. I can't keep up with this.
The ground is shaking underneath all these 4 cars right now. They just can't stay in one place calmly. And now RaceFox are in the mix right now. Radical Online almost getting off to the gravel trap. There's a send from Fiercely Forward. There's a send from Kevin Crosby as well. And he's up a position too. Awesome. Awesome. These guys are really, the ground is shaking underneath them. They just can't stay in one place constantly, calmly. I don't know what's going to happen next. I'm just so excited for this.
SimRC as well are catching for the race lead as well. We've been missing that. It's gone down to 1.7 seconds. It's come down a second and a bit as we approach the pit stop sequence. These lot all battling out for the moment. I told you, 13 cars, who cares? We are seeing a proper battle for the podium. Look at the gaps. 2 seconds separating 3rd down to 9th. Sensational stuff as we're seeing this battle between Fiercely Forward IRS, between Radicals Online Track Racer, SimRC, Team RaceFox Sim Racing, Fiercely Forward, and joining the party, Alcantech NHR and the Core Sim Racing 2 car. Bearing in mind that SimRC's 77 and the Core Sim Racing 35 has been off the road this race. The fact that they're battling out for a podium is fantastic stuff. And RaceFox, who I was almost ruling out of the potential chance of being involved in the podium, they might reignite their sequence again.
Yeah, and you never know which way the cycle is going to go. RaceFox certainly right now only in P number 6. Well, a few turns of events and RaceFox will find themselves back up to P number 3, and that might just put them in a very good start for the championship. Core Sim Racing showing a sign of intent right now. This is what I think 6 cars all together. 6 top cars in this championship, head to head, toe to toe, and of course they make contact.
Yeah, Golombek trying to sweep underneath the Alcantech NHR car and may well do so, but just adds extra damage. This one to the front right of the car, so this car's certainly been in the wars, as is the SimRC 77. There is the switch of positions, and the Alcantech NHR car is going to drop to 9th and the rear end of this train, but it certainly isn't done yet. The pit window will not be open this lap, but it will be open the one that follows, and I don't know about you, I think there's a couple of drivers in this train that will want to get out of it.
Very fast. Very, very quickly. I think first of the lot might be RaceFox. They just need some clean air right now because their pace is superb. Next, you might see simracing dive early on, which is quite the opposite to what they end up doing usually. So expect a few changes in the competitive order right there. I think this is going to be fun. I think where they cycle out and those rejoins, oh my god, I can only imagine right now how close they're going to get at the exit of turn number 1 once they rejoin.
There's going to be some exciting stuff, you can guarantee it. This fight is definitely not done. Of course, in racing car that Marius Golombek is a part of, obviously with that battle for 8th spot, has dropped off the train, but we'll close back up to it, don't worry, and we'll see them continue to fight. 7 cars battling it out for that podium spot, the final step onto it. The battle for the race lead is coming down, although you have to say that maybe going into the pit lane sequence, things might look a little bit better for the number 34. This is fantastic stuff. It really, really is a top-notch level of action that we're seeing. That pit lane sequence, though, well, it is now open. We are ready to go. The drivers will be eyeing up the pit lane. Who's going to dive, though? That's the question. I agree with you. I think RaceFox is going to get out of this. I think Gabler is going to get behind the wheel. Although, that said, I've said this before with Zolder, because of how the pit lane entry is, if you're in the middle of the pack, you're better off coming into the pit lane when there's no one ahead of you, because you then take up that braking line into... because obviously if you come into pit lane, you're not braking at the same point as you would do for the final chicane. So you've got to bear that in mind. Yeah,
it can cause a few distractions, because normally you just end up going straight on if you are going in the pit lane, and that can be quite a confusing place at times. But no, expect RaceFox, and of course they will. They've just got some contact from the back of that fiercely forward car. They want to escape this one. They ideally want to lead. See, it's so exciting. I can't get my words correct. Do I bother? Not at all. It's not RaceFox, though.
Dory just saw behind this, fiercely forward, just got clouted by Marius Golombek coming into pit lane, because Golombek was committed and Isaac Jean most certainly wasn't. I don't blame Golombek for that at all. I mean, well, maybe I will on a second viewing, but there was a bit of indecision for the fiercely forward 53 car into the pit lane. They all come. Golombek nailed it, by the way, at least as far as I saw, but there could have been absolute tears between them. So it was as close as you'd ever want.
Exactly. Here's that quick look at the replay. And wait, do you mean he actually got it from there?
Oh, see, look at that.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, for me. So Isaac Jean was looking as if like, oh no, I'll carry on, and then bailed to go down pit lane whilst Golombek was already committed. Yeah, you don't like seeing that. I mean, that's terrifying. Really is terrifying. The one person who would be scared from that is Golombek. The one person who's not going to be scared from that is SimRC, as there is going to be a move here and there is going to be the potential gain. This battle, though, is going to cost them all time, and those that have all been in the pit lane, they are going to gain from this.
Of course, they are now. Rebecca Pauline. It's not Rebecca. I think it's still Rebecca Pauline behind the wheel of that IRS car. Trying on the inside, not able to make it work. There was that 1 second window where Rebecca could have just gotten in there. But again, the McLaren better in the straight rather than on the exit of the corners. Now, perhaps you could see Rebecca closer than ever. But now we're also seeing the race closer than ever. No, this is not how it should end.
That is the exact thing that I was talking about. Crosley was probably, at least from what I could feel there, was committing to coming down pit lane. And the car ahead, being the 77 of Jamie Moon, was not committing down pit lane. It's a shame. That is a real sad way to end at least the exciting part of that fight, but certainly isn't over yet. Rebecca Pauling did get down into pit lane. Crosney will lose an awful lot of times. I think you can almost scratch him out of that fight, but alas, the battle for the lead is coming down bit by bit. 1.4 seconds has come down a second and a half since the earlier portion of the race, since SimRC took over second position, since Felix Luding got up there. This is looking way more promising from SimRC.
Absolutely, they've just made a good use of every single opportunity they've got in this race. We saw early on their qualifying pace was just nowhere close to where you would see SimRC, but they have grabbed every chance with both hands. This is where it pays off. Where did Cole come out right now? But for RaceFox, this could be a big hit in the championship. I don't think we've had SimRC or Core Sim Racing, well, apart from that penalty, of course, have such a crazy run so far in both races. This is a major lost chance for them.
I will say, big gainers from the pit lane sequence is actually the 35, who may well be actually up into the proper podium battle. They're right behind the Radicals Online track racer, but by them pitting in a bit earlier, they may have jumped quite a few in this sequence, and they're going to try and get by. It's Maxime Ramstein behind the wheel, Don Squirek behind the wheel of the Radicals Online track racer McLaren. And there could be a switch here. And like I say, this is for the lead of the teams that have pitted. Now, you've got to remove the 77 that's ahead of them. When they come into pit lane, they are probably going to come out behind this by quite a bit after that contact. The two ahead of that, Core Sim Racing and SimRC 76, they're going to be so far ahead, which means that this is the battle for the podium. Yep. And if that 35 can come out from being taken out at turn 1 after that instant coming down to pit lane and how close that was, if they can get onto the podium, bravo to that.
Really reminding everyone why they are so high up in the championship, why we consider them to be genuine championship material, trying to make a move now on Radicals Online. But I like this. Radicals Online have been sturdy. They've been pretty hard to pass. They have been a hard nut to crack. And now Core have to do it all on their own, all on the merit. No freebies anywhere whatsoever.
1 second separating the race lead. It is coming down again and again and again. Does Pascal Stix bail this time? We'll keep our eye on this battle as Ramstein has dived to the inside, goes side-by-side action. That is a brilliant send. They're both going to dive into pit lane and gaining again. Felix Luding absolutely committed to pit lane entry. Core are going to make their way onto the podium though. Got the inside for turn 4 and getting past the Radicals Online track racer McLaren. Squirek not able to put up a fight to Ramstein, and that Core Sim Racing car is right back up there.
I don't think if I was Squirek, I'd be majorly disappointed. Core have just been on fire. They have just been something else so far. Such a drive so far from Gollenbeck right now. And there's their teammate coming in for the box. Ideal timing though. I'd say things are quite good. SimRC trying to take it longer, but pretty unusual considering to what they usually do.
Well, we are within a second for the race lead. It was within a second when they came in. So now it's going to be Oscar Mangan versus Jürgen Frank for race victory here. This could be an absolutely thrilling fight for the next 28 minutes. And for me personally, not that I'm against Core Sim Racing, or I want to see SimRC, I do want to see a slightly slower pit stop from Oscar Mangan. I think that's exactly what we've seen. Oh, they are going to come out very close because I think this battle is absolutely on.
Oh yes, the gap has cut down big time. I think only 0.3 of a second right now. Bring it on then. It's going to be a thriller right down to the last 30 odd minutes that we've got left right now. I seriously can't tell. I seriously can't tell which one of these drivers will come out on top. Momentum would favor the 34, but SimRC today, they have been flying.
Really have been. They've caught up to the battle for the race lead quite nicely. They've caught down the gap to Core Sim Racing very, very well. And remember, it was 3 seconds at one point. It's now actually, it was half a second, obviously, because everyone was going quite slow in pit lane or whatever. Maybe looked a little bit closer than it was. It is, though, you can tell there, under a second. Jürgen Frank has the work to do. He has to get right into the rhythm of the car. Whilst we saw one SimRC versus one Core Racing car, we're seeing the other one. And somehow, after the pit lane sequence, didn't catch that, the 77 is ahead. Bram van Putten is ahead of Maxime Ramstein. So it's Core versus SimRC for the top 4 positions, and Radicals Online Track Racer are going to try and throw something into the works.
I think it's Radical's online track races that might end up coming with this position at the end. Remember, when two cars often end up fighting, mostly it's the third one that has ended up getting the position right at the very end. At least that's been the narrative so far today. But now I think these guys are going to play it a little more sane. We know that all of them have time. We know they can take it easy with this risk. And now, this is where things went wrong here.
Superb exit to pit lane. The sequence was very, very nice. It's no cut corners, no taking this whatever in the pit lane, no taking a short pit stop. It was 61 seconds for them, 61 seconds for everyone else. So right on the money. Just to be honest, response-wise, did very well on track. Did Jamie Moon to try and respond after that incident down at the final corner, and just got on with it. To be honest, set some decent lap times, and now back up into third position. I don't know who's going to come out on top in this fight. I don't know what's going to happen throughout the rest of the race. Of course, that's why we're here to watch it. 0.7 of a second has come down to 3/4 of a second. The battle for the race lead. So Jürgen Frank is on it like a car bonnet and wants SimRC to win, wants to kind of continue this streak of the 34 qualifying second and not winning.
Yeah, it's just going to pile on. And how bad might that feel for the 34? They've had so many chances, never that big win. This has to be the best possible shot, but in their way. Man, Jürgen Frank is just bringing the fight onto the table right now. And Frank, normally TCR driver, he just brings that ability of going side by side with you. I mean, TCR drivers know exactly what it's like to bang those, to make those hard overtakes. Frank might be in with a shot if he can close up that 1 second gap. When you're with core sim racing, 1 second feels more like 2 seconds. They've been that good, and they've had that sort of an aura this season.
Well, the 34 did obviously start from second place. It's the fourth time they've qualified second, by the way, so they're trying to follow the stat. And they were a part of the stat a bit earlier in the season at Hockenheim when they qualified second and then took victory in the Core Sim Racing 1-2, the first of the season. I think we're going to see one here today. We saw one a bit earlier in the day, but in this race, I think a 14-second gap might be a little bit too much, even for someone the talent level of Maxime Ramstein, but you never know. I'll rule it out. Who knows what will happen? Yeah, they've started from fourth place, from second place rather, 4 times now. It's 1 win versus 2 non-wins. So the stat they're breaking the stat. It's their fault. Are we going to see them return the stat to its glory? I hope so. Yeah. Actually, to be frank, I'm not sure if I hope so. I just want to see a good race.
And we might just get that. Maybe if not for the battle for the lead, maybe at least for this battle. Honestly, there seems to be screens, whatever it may be. It's just insane. And think of the names. Think of how good Bram Van Poten, Maxime Ramstein and Squirrek have been so far this season. Just seeing them fight all together, not for a win, seems a bit odd. But for the fact that it's for the final spot of the podium, just makes it all the more intense that there's so many more championship points here on offer. So much more despeраcy in this fight now.
Yeah, also seeing there is a bit of a battle just down the road from this between the two fiercely forward cars. It's IRS in the hands of Frushka and the 53 Porsche in the hands of Yanni. Also, Crisp is a part of it as well for the Alcantech car. So maybe we might see Alcantech making up a couple of positions and gaining a decent amount from this race. Well, we'll have to wait and see, won't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Alcantech have been pretty decent so far. Coming up in P8 right now with Matthew Crisp behind the wheel of that car. Crisp was, in his own words, a little bit inconsistent in that very first stint in the first race. We've only got to give it time to see what he is like right now in this particular one. But he comes up to his old teammates. Remember, he was a part of Team Fiercely Forward, helping them race, driving for them, organizing events too. Now, going head-to-head, toe-to-toe against not one, but 2 of their cars. This is a fun storyline track.
There's always a bit of rivalry in there, isn't there? Not in a negative way, but sometimes if you're racing up against your old teammates, you're racing up against people that you know that you're comfortable with. You think I need to come out on top here. I need to beat them. I need to show them that I've made the right move. That I'm still as good as I used to be. I made a bit of a team change 5-6 years ago, whatever it was, and it gave me so much of a drive to try and beat that team that I left. I was like, no, I'm not exaggerating. Put in a lot of practice, put in a lot of work. You think I can do this.
As long as it's not bitter, it's totally
Exactly.
okay. And that's the fun part. And so far, and I hope so, certainly, it's not been bitter. And it doesn't end up being bitter at all, because I want to see Alkindek and Echan Fiercely Forward fight more on later on, not only in this championship, but also in other ones too. But still, I'm slightly sort of confused right here. Marie Rushka is fighting with Yanni right now. Both of them, of course, have been smart. They've not been going wheel to wheel, toe to toe with each other. They've been working together as a team normally should to try and gain more pace on the drivers up ahead. I think that's the smart way around. With 20 minutes, yeah, it might be a bit of a long shot to end up closing that gap, but it's the right thing that they're not sending dive bombs on each other.
Yeah, they're just trying not to lose time right now. Just trying to do their own thing. That's the difference between this battle, where they've got someone quite close behind, as opposed to the battle for the race lead, where Jürgen Frank once again has closed in on Oscar Mangan. If he gets a whiff, he's going to send it. They've got 14 seconds to play with. You're going to go for it. You will try. Oscar Mangan under a lot of pressure as we cut away at court, as always. Bit of a slow off of T4. Maria Vrishka does pass over to teammate in the 53, Yanni, up to 6th.
Exactly. This is going to be interesting all the way through. There is enough time for all the battles to mature, which makes it special. It's not like a 30-minute sprint race or something quite like that, where you're forced to make all your moves in a certain spot. You get your time, you get to stay behind, you get to watch where the other driver is making their mistakes, and so you can bounce accordingly. Not that you've got many slots here at Zolder to bounce, but still gives you that chance to understand and to study the driver up ahead. And I like that. I think that 1 hour window is just very good for this sort of racing.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a lot to play for on board with the Alcantec HR car that's being piloted by Matthew Crisp. So the switch of positions, Maria Hrushka losing out to the teammate. Now the McLaren of Matthew Crisp fancies to gain another spot. I don't think 8th is good enough. You'd be happy with it. I'd be happy to reach a checker flag, but now that you've got something on the horizon, you've got 20 minutes as well. That's plenty of time to get by 1, get by 2. Hey, maybe even close up and get by something else.
Exactly. And how exciting is it as a racing driver to see cars in front of you? When you're, of course, when you're somewhere towards the bottom bar of the pack, it might be a bit discouraging that you've not got many cars nearby, you're just driving on your own, boring, dull. But when you see not 1 but 2 targets that are just in your range, just sort of fills you with so much adrenaline, just makes you feel like, right, now I've got a target, I've got a purpose to race about, and that can just bring out the best in so many drivers. That just might be the case for Crisp right now. But the target might not just be in front. There's a target behind them as well. Watch out, Lucas Gamble in the Racebox car is very, very close.
And charging after that mistake on pit lane entry from his teammate. A bit of a shame there, just a misjudgment, and big issues. Gabler behind the wheel and looking strong. We were side by side there, seeing the race lead. We'll keep our eyes on it, as with 20 minutes to go, it's absolutely on. Oscar Mangan pulls out of the final quarter all the way over to the right-hand side. I think we'll see Oscar Mangan racing again tomorrow evening in the ISOWC penultimate round of that, as he's battling for the championship there. He's probably putting a lot of effort into that, and putting in doing almost a bit of double duty in a sense. The fact that you're racing on back-to-back days, you're putting in a lot of effort to race all of this stuff. The amount of practice that these sim drivers do these days, it's not as if they show up 20 minutes and then just get to the racing. They do an awful lot of work, and when you're racing in that sense, when you're racing for championships on back-to-back days, it's hard work.
In all honesty, it's not a hobby in a way, I'd sort of put it. The kind of time it requires for you to do at a competitive level like this one, it becomes more of a second career. And even though it might not pay as handsomely as other people's second career might do, it is so rewarding. You put up so many hours, so much effort, and then that feeling when you get a good result. Tell you what, I'm having a very good feeling about this. This right here is the battle for the lead, and it's between Oscar Mangan and Jürgen Frank. I've said this many times today, that's because it's genuinely true. I would literally pay to watch this sort of battle. This will be mighty fun right now. And when you add in the championship circumstances, bring it on.
It is going to be an exceptional fight between the two, I am absolutely sure. Maybe we're bigging this up a little bit too much. We've seen 3 wide around here, so I don't think we can big up anything too much. Let's just hope this battle continues for the next 17 minutes. Sun's nicely out here. Zolder looking, oh, there we go. There's a nice little bit of side by side, looking backwards from the Core Sim Racing car on the right-hand side of your screen, looking forwards from it on the left. Oscar Mangan under a lot of pressure, and Jürgen Frank knocking at the door. Both of these teams having won races this season. Of course, the 34 winning race 1, the 77. Well, it was actually the 77 rather that won race 1 of the season. Race 2 the season was run by the 34. So actually, the 76 hasn't won a race, but looking very, very strong. And also a disappointing start to the day, didn't they? Obviously, with race 1 today. Here, round 5 of the season, shift of problems. If they can bounce back to that with a race win, that would be extra sweet.
It's amazing how just a few small circumstances here and there can make you change your perspective on the team. Coming into this round, we had the feeling, oh, SimRC is so consistent, so good, bringing the fight to core. A drop in race number 1, and all of a sudden we started to harbor lots of doubts. Now they're back again, and it just goes back to the point that we discussed the last time out at Barcelona. What is the competitive order? I mean, we don't know. There is no competitive order. It's not fixed. It's all variable. And now SimRC finally showing indications of their intent.
Absolutely, properly fighting this one out. Remember that when it comes to race wins this season, this is the only teams that have won. There's the send. Oh, not quite yet. These are the only teams that have won. Round 1 of the season, we saw race wins separated between Core Sim Racing and SimRC. Round 2 of the season, or the second race weekend when we went racing at Barcelona, it was actually, courtesy of penalties as well, it was SimRC's all the way. The 76 won race 1, the 77 won race 2, and then today Core won earlier in the day. They're trying to lock out here at Zolder and split it as 3 wins apiece between the 2 outfits. But let's be honest, SimRC want to end that one. They want to make it 4 from 6 for the outfit, and it would be 2 wins for the 77 and 2 wins for the 76 if they can do it. 34 will be trying very hard not to make that happen.
And this is just making the championship battle even better than it already is. And right now, it is probably one of the closer ones that you will ever see. What a run the Porsche's got right now, though. What a run SimRC have got right now, though.
Oh, there's going to be contact. This is going to end pretty badly. Jürgen Frank. There wasn't really much of a gap there. Absolutely sent it in. There was a bit of contact on the rear end of Oscar Mangan. I don't know, Somil, how they're not in the barrier.
Me neither. That makes the two of us, to be honest with you. And they will be going head-to-head, toe-to-toe, hammer and tongs for the next 14 minutes. Could you ask for more right now? There will be a lot more of that carbon fiber banging against each other, and I like it. Where will the next send come, though? With these guys, you expect the sends to be limited, but very impactful in nature. They know where to pick their battles. They know how to make a move done. I love this. I am enjoying every second of this. I think maybe we might see another one at turn 6.
You've got to get a mistake from Oscar Mangan. The Irishman doesn't really make many, and that's the issue here. You've got to find your way through at somehow, some point, some way. I'm just not sure where that opportunity is going to come from. I mean, how many times have we seen SimRC and Core Sim Racing battling in sim racing, even outside of this series? We've seen it time and time again elsewhere. And they're outfits that almost regardless of what they race, they always seem to come together. I mean, think of it in the sense of not quite at the same level, but think of the sense of Commander and Red Bull and Redline as well. They all seem to meet up in various series. And they're always like, oh, where are they? Yep, they're all battling over the lead. Of course they are.
And add BS competition to the mix as well in some cases. It's all coming together, and you love that. You can pick out that fight in every single series, wherever you go, whatever it is. And I mean, what is it like? It's hard to think of many sporting battles that have sort of stretched themselves out over these many championships all the way through. It's just amazing what both of them have been able to put out so far, and it's only going to get better. It's only going to get more spicy, more exciting, trying to reach a new level here in this championship.
I'm not going to put it on the same level as this, but follow my logic here. Is a bit late on the brakes there, Jürgen Frank. almost in the same sense as in tennis, if you've watched tennis. If you go back and look at results of tennis 15 years ago, Rafa Nadal, Federer, a bit of Djokovic or whatever, and then you fast forward to the modern day, who do you have towards the front? Rafa Nadal, Djokovic, Federer, etc., etc. They always seem to come to form at the same kind of point as exactly what we're seeing here. To the outside, Jürgen Frank not able to do it, and simracing going to hang on. Oscar Mangan doing exactly what he needs to do. 12 minutes left on the clock. There'll be a good few laps of this race yet to go, a good few opportunities for Jürgen Frank to try and get SimRC another race win this season. They're battling it out hard. This is exactly what we're expecting for the championship fight. And with the battling that we've seen today, I said it but before, we were a little bit concerned coming into it. Only 15 cars, maybe we weren't going to see the racing we wanted, but we don't need 15 cars, you only need 2, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. They've come together again, a bit of a slice on the brakes from Jürgen Frank and Oscar Mangan, able to hang on again.
How does this man do that? Just an expert at blocking off all the right lines and right places, and Jürgen Frank is frustrated. At this stage, for how long has he sat behind and seen that very sight? The Belgian forests and an orange and white car. At one stage, he might just get frustrated and might make a big dive. But knowing Jürgen Frank, that big dive might be a spectacular move. So, if you had to call them, if you had to call these 3 guys, well, Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, I think SimRC more like Federer, aren't they? They've pulled out the more flair-based moves right now. But simracing, call them Djokovic. They've not been very flashy, but effective, oh yes.
Yes, absolutely. Just you don't need to do a fantastic move around the outside. It's just you just need to do a move right now, and that's it was one of the best bits of advice that I ever got in sim racing. Was from a man named Robert Wiesenmuller, and he said he's just trying to make it look a little bit too fancy, and it kind of made me think. I was like, no, I think he's right. I'm always trying to go around the outside. I'm always trying to do this. I'm always trying to pull off the wow move. Do you know what? Just dive it to the inside, slam it on the brakes, get it in there, and get the move done. And that's exactly what kind of needs to happen here with Jürgen Frank. You've got to just get the hammer out and just do it. Oh, there we go. The switchback as well through the chicane, up and over the crest as they rise down towards turn 6. This is looking a lot better for SimRC and Jürgen Frank. Onto the brakes. They're still side by side. The switch for the race leaders. Oscar Mangan backs out of it a little bit. That was genius at play, and Jürgen Frank hits the front with 10 minutes to go.
Is this the last we see of this battle though? Seemingly not, because already Oscar Mangan has got a great run. Can he get one in at the hairpin? He's trying, he's showing those signs, but he's waiting off for that right moment. I like this. Oscar Mangan playing it smart, realizing that there is no need to rush. 10 minutes are still left.
But those 10 minutes fly past. So this is in race 1. You sat there, you think, oh, I've got 10. Oh, I've got 5 minutes. Oh, I've got a couple of laps. This is the last corner, is it? Wow, Oscar Mangan is not waiting for the last corner of the race to try and fire one back. He's got a better launch out of the final corner. He's got to make it stick around the outside of turn 1. But if you can do so, you've got the inside for the next few corners. Firing it in. Jürgen Frank's pushing it over. Cuts off Oscar Mangan. Oscar Mangan back out to the outside. Going to take that wide run through turn 2 and try and get past the SimRC. But for Jürgen Frank, it's just enough for now. This battle is not done, Somo. It's going to carry on and on and on, and it's either going to end in tears or it's going to end in a fantastic battle for the next 8.5 minutes, and I'm genuinely not sure which.
I think it's going to be more of the latter. If this was a boxing match, really, we would have round 8, 9, 10. I'm not even sure if you're allowed to have those many rounds.
I think it's up to 12,
just
isn't it, boxing?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really watch boxing.
Likewise. It's just going to go all the way down to the very end. TKO? I don't think so. This one is just going to be decided by, well, there's this famous quote, right? Some sports manager said, we didn't lose, we just ran out of time. I know they mean the same thing, but I think this could be the case right here in this case too. Just separated by the timing, not by anything else.
How many times have you crossed the line in a race and think, just wish there was one more lap? And whoever finishes second in this battle is going to think, I wish there was just one more lap, or maybe even 10. Because to be honest, when you're in a battle like this, you just kind of think, I'd actually quite like to do this for another 10 minutes, to be honest.
And we won't mind.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Would be a thrilling battle indeed. Let's take a look at some of that slow-mo, and liftoff is achieved for the 34 of Oscar Mangan. Good catch as well.
Exactly. Here we go then. Here we go. Liftoff is done now. It's time to get one up.
Yeah, cut back again for Oscar Mangan, but it was well judged by Jürgen Frank. Just rolled out of it a little bit on the apex to cover off the course sim racing car. Oscar Mangan, though, for the undercut, not quite close enough to be able to do so. That camera angle lulls me into the sweet switch back there, but not quite. You can see that roll through the corner. When you're behind on the car, you're watching where they're braking. So much more confidence. And saw this from Jürgen Frank when he was behind Oscar Mangan. Now we're seeing it, of course, rolls reversed. When they're behind, they're just judging it so well. And I'm not saying they're not judging it well when they're in front. It's just you've got that reference, you've got that marker, you know what's possible. You just push it a little bit further. It's a risky game to play, but they're playing it very, very well right now. And that's why this battle is just going to continue. Of course, Slipstream's playing its part, but it's just two quality drivers in the same machinery, different teams, toe-to-toe.
It's a delicate situation right now, though, for Oscar Mangan. He's lost a tenth or two right now, and the reason behind that was sliding. He's got bad exits all the way through. The tires, they are not cooked. They can't be cooked in just 1 hour for GT4s right now, but in many corners Oscar Mangan was just having a bit too much oversteer. The car sliding off a little bit. It's not bothering him much right now because he's just sort of eased off that gap, but that could be a factor. Watch out for him and watch out for the rear end of that 718 Cayman. It looks stable, but my word, it can be such a slippery car.
I'm desperate for these two. This is my faith in sim racing. Every time we've seen battles like this, you just sort of like, they're probably going to make contact at some point. I'm desperate for them not to. I can't wait to, for one, to see who comes out on top, and for two, to catch up with two drivers who I'm sure are having one of the battles of their lives. I know it's frustrating and stuff when you're not out front, but trust me, both of these drivers will be absolutely loving this, and they'll be desperate to get back to watch the broadcast, I'm sure. Oscar Mangan to the inside through turn 4, not able to make it. Jürgen Frank's going to hang on, and on that run down towards the turn 5 chicane, it'll be the Sim RC on the inside. They're close as Team RaceSpot have gained a position up into 8th place. Krosny, Gabler rather, behind the wheel now. Very hard over the chicane there. Might help Oscar Mangan on that run down the hill. This is where the move happened before. Is it where the move's going to happen again? The answer to that, no.
He's going to be waiting. It's not like conscious waiting, though. Mangan does not want to wait. He wants to pounce on the opportunity. On the right-hand side, though, Radical Zone line have been closed up by that number 53 fiercely forward car. My word, I love to see the side of that battle as well. But here comes Mangan again at the hairpin. This is a chance for a great cutback, but he refrains.
Brilliant stuff, brilliant stuff. Flashing of the lights, now trying to force it, defending to the inside heavily. Jürgen Frank into the final chicane. 4 minutes, 20 seconds left. Said that 10 minutes disappears quickly. That was 6 minutes ago. It certainly doesn't feel like it, and it definitely won't in the car. You're just thinking, God, where's all the time gone? It just flies by when you're in a battle like this. Again, excellent defense, and I'm going to talk about this again and again and again. I love this defense because it is proactive. It is, I'm going to put my car here, you go wherever you want. I'm going to do this, you do what you can. If you get by, fair enough. If not, let's just battle this out. Perfect defense from Jürgen Frank right now, but Oscar Mangan's close. Is there going to be close? There's a little bit of contact, a brush on the rear as they run through turn 3 into turn 4. Sim RC still holding on.
Jürgen Frank should be the goalkeeper for Germany. The way he saved that car after that contact, that got a bit too ridiculously close towards ending in tears. And no, so far things are just as good. Into orbit goes Oscar Mangan, but Oscar Mangan also goes to the inside line with the run of his life. This could be it, you know.
Oh, I'm not sure he's close, but is he going to be close enough? Jürgen Frank again managing to hold on and managing to keep at bay Oscar Mangan. I mean, talking of goalkeepers, well, there's a relevant point, but I will say, of the Euros, goalkeeper was the player of the season, so maybe that's in the same sense as this. Playing in defence was Donnarumma, of course, Italian goalkeeper, but yeah, not salty about it at all. It's excellent defence is the point. It's perfect. I mean, it's good attack, and I am not going to take anything away from Oscar Mangan. It is very, very good attack. It's trying to work a way through this without taking too much risk. It's playing it apart really, really nicely, but Jürgen Frank's defense right now is genuine top class. It is absolutely how it should be done. And if you want to know how to defend a race lead, this is exactly how you do it. Rookies of Sim Racing will definitely be taking a look at this one because it is top form right now, just rolling it off perfectly on the apex, stopping that cutback, that ultimate charge, and driving well within yourself. Oscar Mangan again around the outside of turn 2. It's the inside line for Jürgen Frank, and it'll be tried to cover off once again at 4. Oscar Mangan's close, but not close enough. 2 laps to go.
Resolute is the word that we're looking for right here. The defense from Jürgen Frank has been absolutely resolute. He knows a thing or two about making sure that his car is 15, 20 feet wide. Of course, he's a DCR driver, but Mangan counting on all his experience as well. Look at the jump. It's like they don't care about it at all. It's like they just want to go for it, and they've found that perfect balance between height and speed. Mangan is just putting up a show right now, but he's also bringing the substance with the style here.
The drivers at the top of their game, doing exactly what they should be. I mean, this battle has cost them a lot of time. Obviously, it doesn't matter, but it was up to like 16, 17 seconds to the car behind. It's now down to 10. Shows how much they've been battling. Course in racing, Oscar Mangan said it's way too deep. He's way too deep, and Jürgen Frank, oh, he played that so well, and Oscar Mangan gave it a go, and finally, Jürgen Frank, he'll have a sigh of relief for the next lap. He can just breathe. He can just enjoy it as SimRC about to start the final lap of the race. What a battle we've had, though.
And I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. That's the song that must be playing in the mind of Oscar Mangan right now. I can't quite do the Charlie Puth, whatever that is, but seriously, if it had to end, this, I think, was a pretty reasonable way to end it. What a send that was from Oscar Mangan. Beautiful. Again, he knew this was his chance. And Jürgen Frank, what do they say? Cool as a cucumber, don't they?
Just measured. Oscar Mangan couldn't do anything. Maybe you could argue there was a bit of a move in the braking zone or whatever. I don't really know. I wouldn't vibe it like that. It's just how it was, how it went about it. Brilliant battle between the two. There is still the fight, though, for the podium behind this. Speaking of SimRC versus Core Sim Racing, 4/10 of a second separates the 77 and the 35. Of course, we've also got this battle between the Radicals Online Track Racer and the 53 Fiercely Forward car, Fiercely Forward IRS as well. Behind this, battling out with Alcantech and HR. There's plenty of battles. With the Racefox and Alcantech and HR car, and they are going to be racing this one as hard as they can towards the checkered flag. All of these positions do mean points, and points mean prizes, and if you're battling for a championship, you need to pick up as many points as you possibly can.
Now, though, will Yanni go for a big send? We've seen a couple of them so far today. That 53 machine, it's had mixed luck all the way to the season. This might be at the moment that it can change completely for them, where their style is backed up by some big results.
Here we go then, out of the final corner. We'll watch this battle as well, but plaudits again, the 76 SimRC. You've got to give it to Jürgen Franks and Felix Luding. What a battle it was between them and the 34. They had to close down the 3-second gap and then put on one of the shows of the season. Absolutely sensational between two drivers at the peak of their powers. Oscar Mangan's going to come up short by 1 position, but what a fight it was. And look at this across the line. Radicals Online Track Racer going to take 5th, but by such a short margin from Fiercely Forward IRS, Team Racefox, and of course the Alcantech NHR car. What scenes we have seen.
Absolutely nothing in it. The margins just so tight. That is the kind of racing we all dream to see from the Real World Championships. That is the kind of racing we all would literally pay to watch. And we've got 2 mega races right here today, all done. It'll take a while for us to settle down, but really, how good was today's race weekend?
Sensational. I said 11 cars, don't care. You only need 2 to put on a show, and to be fair, we had 7 at one point in that battle for the podium, and we had 2 battling for the race lead, and what a battle it was. Cannot wait to catch up with them about that. Absolutely sensational for Jürgen Frank and Felix Luding. This is the response they wanted after race 1, which slipped out of their hands. They are on top here, 1.3 seconds ahead of Oscar Mangan, who put up a valiant effort to try and steal the race win from SimRC. But of course, Sim Racing, it'll be second place for them. 77 of Bram van Putten in the SimRC 77. They were dropped down on lap 1 after being sent off at turn 2. Speaking of going a little bit sent on lap 1, Maxime Ramstein, it was Marius Gollenbeck behind the wheel of 35. Pole position in the race, sent at turn number 1. Then it was Radical's online track race that were in 5th spot. Fiercely Forward and Fiercely Forward IRS lockout 6th and 7th. And Team RaceSpot Sim Racing, championship leaders coming into this, well, a 6th place and an 8th place. I think that's going to be good enough for them to hang on. It's all about Sim RC and Core Sim Racing. Alcantech NHR and Maniti Racing White round out the top 10. And then the car behind will be Maniti Racing Green. The 2 GSR cars retiring very, very early in the race indeed. I didn't think I could lose my voice, but I'm very close to it.
Catch your breath, Lewis. Catch your breath. There's going to be 3 more weeks of this crazy action coming up, really. And I think after 3 weeks of madness, 3 weeks is a good time to take a good break, because seriously, this championship has been mad. It's probably been one of the most captivating series of all that I've worked on. Honestly, it's been on my mind all the way through the weeks. Just been amazing.
Absolutely sensational. And remember, the action will return tomorrow. You can join us here when it's the Sprint Masters that'll be on. And trust me, if we've seen thrilling fights in this, we will see thrilling fights in that indeed. 30 of the very, very best, battling out for a prize pool of €25,000. Race number 2 is complete here, and we'll be taking a break momentarily to go and rejuvenate our voices before tomorrow's action. But before that, we have got to drag in our race winner, Jürgen Frank, who's going to join us here in that number 76. I have seen good battles in sim racing before, but that was right up there. Jürgen Frank, race winner. Talk us through that battle.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Yeah, that was really intense battle. I mean, we had a lot of time to P3, so we could fight it out, and yeah, that was for sure one of the hardest battles I ever had. Yeah, at first I could manage to get him, and then I don't know, couldn't get the pace anymore, and he was attacking like crazy from behind, but yeah, I could hold the place.
Had to do the work early when Felix Luding was behind the wheel, because once you got up into second place as a team, it was a 3-second gap. Did you think at that point that the win was going to be possible, or do you think that Core were going to check out?
Yeah, we all never give up, I would say. So we just pushed the hell out of it, and in the end it worked for us.
Do you know what happened in race 1? Obviously, we saw an issue with Felix Luding not being able to shift. Did you get to the bottom of that?
Yeah, unfortunately, the steering wheel, BMW Fanatec wheel, got knocked out somehow, and he couldn't shift and pressing push to talk anymore. So he had to stay in, I don't know, 3rd gear or so. And yeah, after 1 minute, it worked out again.
Well, enormous congratulations to you. Enjoy the little break that we've got between this round and the ones that follow.
Yeah, now it's time for the summer, and we will come back strong again. I think our reserve driver, Marvin Strehl, will also drive 1 or 2 races in the end. So, yeah, we will give all.
Well, thank you and congratulations. And Somel, need I say more about that thrilling fight?
You don't. We've seen it all. I'm running out of words right now. That was just superb. Got me hooked on, got me engaged. And don't lie, dear viewer, you were as well. If you're watching this broadcast on repeat, just drink it all in. This is just amazing. Top level sim racing that we're getting to see, and they just barely made contact. That's the best part. And you know what? After a short break, we get 3 more races of this one. Not 3, actually. 6 more races of this one.
Yeah, round 7 returns on August the 13th before we do triple headers again, heading to the Red Bull Ring and the Nürburgring Sprint Strecke, which will be a fantastic way to end the season. Our return to Germany to close the season and the battle for the win. But of course, we're not done yet for the halfway point of the season. Reminder that we've got Sprint Masters coming up tomorrow, 1:30 UTC. Be there or be square, because trust me, the racing will be absolutely sensational. And in our off season, we also will do the Sports Car Open 24 Hours of Spa, as they'll battle it out for a prize pool of €10,000. It's going to be a thrilling fight. Thank you so much for joining us throughout this. It has been a sensational fight once again, and we are delivering the action. Virtual Racing School's Sports Car Open Sprint Challenge will return in 4 weeks' time. And until then, from myself, Lewis McGlade, from Sommel Aurora, from Hugo Luis as well, thank you so much for joining us. What a show it's been. And until next time, bye-bye.